Hello, everyone. Welcome to Geeky Geezers. I don't think I should have done a play on Pee Wee's Playhouse, right? We'll get into that. Good old days soon enough, though. But yeah, welcome to the Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello, hello.
It's funny. I almost felt like saying it's Geeky Geezers, not the Geeky Geezers.
I mean, the
joke.
name of the show is Geeky Geezers, but we are the Geeky Geezers of Geeky Geezers, I suppose.
I was watching this British mystery series called Magpie Murders, and part of the series is about this writer who, this mystery author, wrote a book called Magpie Murders. And then his agent is saying, okay, so the Magpie Murders, not the Magpie Murders, Magpie Murders. He got very angry about that.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway, it's kind of a weird little series because it has almost a meta element to it because there's the mystery in the fictional mystery book and you go into that mystery, but then there's the present day mystery of who murdered the author of that mystery book, so
Yeah.
like you're going back and forth between the fictional detective and the literary editor that's trying to solve the crime in the present, so it was an interesting little show.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone, though. Big Al presents. Always good to see you. By the way, many people comment here. They also have channels. Please subscribe. Big Al has a channel. If you're not subscribed, you can catch me on his channel every so often. I'm on with this guy to the right every Friday night as well. Make sure you're subscribed to Troy Pacelli. We do some good discussions on Friday nights. I'm sure most of you are, but in case none of you weren't aware, I am on with Troy Pacelli each Friday night. Joshua V, welcome.
Yep. Evening.
Matanui, deleted scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. We'll see.
In fact, speaking of which, deleted scenes, hope all of you are just coming from his stream because he's been talking on a topic that we're going to continue over here.
He sounded on fire. I only got on there a half hour into it, though. I have to rewatch the rest of it later because I'm sure he's angry about something similar that I'm angry about, which we'll be getting into later, which I didn't put in I figured I'd let deleted scenes have the headline on that, but we'll be talking about the Witcher news.
Yep.
That came out recently. There were a couple of Witcher stories.
And Nares Network, I love you too, sweetie. So there we go.
There we go.
Should we jump right into it?
We're going to jump right into the good old days, Pee Wee Herman.
Gosh, you remember I won't try singing it here, but that crazy theme song to Pee Wee's Playhouse?
It went like that, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And I remember, okay, for starters, what was your first exposure to Pee Wee Herman? Was it Pee Wee's Big Adventure?
No, I think I did see some of his show before the Big Adventure. But he kind of became a cultural icon. It was really a surprising thing. I mean, he came on the scene right at the right time, and yet his the character, of course, we're talking about the character created by Paul Reubens.
Yeah.
Actually, Phil Hartman had a lot to do with the creation of the character as well. But it goes back to, I think it goes back to, was it at least the early 80s? But no. It goes back to the late 70s, the Groundlings. Did you ever hear of the Groundlings?
I've heard of the Groundlings. It's where a lot of the SNL troupe got their training. Is that right?
Exactly right, and that's the Phil Hartman connection there, which of course followed into the show, and then of course Pee Wee's Big Adventure and whatnot. But that's how these kind of characters get started. I guess you could draw correlations to things like what's it called? Like who was Dana Carvey and Mike Myers, their characters from Saturday Night Live.
Wayne's
World.
Wayne's World. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of a thing. Or the Blues Brothers, or so many other characters that started out as just these shticks within comedy routines, and then went into Saturday Night Live and got a national following, and then whatever they spun off from there. Yeah, that was some great stuff, some crazy stuff. So Pee-wee's, you mentioned Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Tim Burton production.
Yes.
Tim Burton went his sensibilities, his vision just worked so perfectly with what Pee-wee Herman was, right? It just makes perfect sense. I think a lot of people probably assume that it was actually a Tim Burton creation. No, that wasn't the case. He came in and added to it in a way.
Yeah. If we remember Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the interesting thing is Pee-wee Herman is an example of when you're a young boy, what you would like to be as an adult. Like you want to be this guy with all the cool stuff in his house.
Right.
Like he had the coolest house in this movie. He had like I forget even like getting his breakfast made. He had a machine that did that. There was like I think there was an animatronic gorilla head in the house, if my memory serves. Spinning wheels. It was just.
And what was
you were a
great?
kid, you could make the house how you wanted it. This was what it would look like. Yeah.
Exactly. He was the prototypical man child, right? He was an adult who had the ability to obtain the things that he wanted to do and live like a child because he chose to. And there was a couple scenes where you mentioned the breakfast making Rube Goldberg machine and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he had this reaction, and he this was part and parcel of the character. It came out of the show where he would just kind of throw his head back over his shoulder and ha 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 ha, and it was just pure childlike joy, know. And it was like, man, that is some great stuff. Seeing Pee-wee Herman laugh, that pure joy. It's like hearing a baby laugh. It's like. Yes. Nothing could be better, right?
Brilliant movie. Remember, his most treasured possession was his bike. Remember that?
Right. In fact, I drew some corollaries in that story. We're probably not going to get too much into the story of his Big Adventure, but there was a lot of corollary between his Big Adventure and his bike, and Mark Hamill and Corvette Summer. If you think about it, that's how I thought about it.
I've not seen Corvette Summer, but I'm taking it's about a man who
his car gets stolen and he goes on an adventure trying to get his car back.
It'd be funny if it was a riff on that, or like almost a play on that. But
it might very well have been. I don't know, to be honest.
The plot is the rich kid in town wants to buy Pee-wee's bike, and Pee-wee says no.
Right.
My bike, you're not going to buy it, and he keeps offering. And they get into this argument, and he keeps saying, I know you are, but what am I? And he keeps saying, I know you are, but what am I? And then he keeps repeating it back to him, and then he finally says infinity. And that's what you do as a kid. You do these little things. I almost kind of wish that more people would start employing that kind of arguing tactic on social media. This whole projection thing, it's and I some people do this in a very highbrow kind of way. Saying, everything you're saying about me is really just projection. It's you're really just, demonstrating who you are, which is just a very highfalutin way of saying, I know you are, but what am I? He has little misadventures on the road. He has to hitch a ride with Large Marge, who just passed away not too long ago. Oh, really? Yeah. Uh-huh. And of course, it's based on an old ghost story, urban legend about, and of course it gets real creepy. And that was a very Tim Burton moment at the end of that sequence with Marge. He gets his wallet stolen when he's in the diner eating the tuna melt, so then he has to work it off by working as a dishwasher. Remember that? Yep. He goes to Texas because I don't know how he finds out this information. It's been a while since I've watched, but his bicycle is in the basement of the Alamo, right? Mm-hmm. And then he goes to the Alamo, and then someone laughs and says, "There's no basement in the Alamo," and everyone laughs at him. Remember that? Yeah. I like when he's on the phone and he's saying, "Where are you, Texas? Are you really in Texas?" And then he yells out, "The stars at night are big and bright," and then the crowd behind him, people just stop. Heart of Texas. Yeah, they just stop and they sing the rest of the song. That's absolutely right. it's a brilliant film. It was a regular repeat on Showtime. Didn't care as much for the follow-up Big Top Pee-wee.
Big Top Pee-wee was okay. It
Yeah.
wasn't, great. But quick trivia. What was Pee-wee's father's name?
Don't know.
Herman.
Huh?
His mother?
Yeah.
Honey Herman. And his sister. You should be able to guess this one. Think of another H name for a girl.
Henrietta.
You went that way. No, Hermione Herman.
Hermione Herman. Oh, okay, of course, Hermione. That's not a name you heard too often until Harry Potter.
Right, exactly right.
But yeah, it was just he was an icon. Then he got his Saturday morning show, if you remember. Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yep.
And I used to watch that all the time. I was very excited because I was a big fan of Pee-wee Herman's Big Adventure. He's going to be on every week? And this is one of the few times where, sometimes they would try to do these things where they'd make something based off of a movie and it wasn't as good. But this was sort of its own animal, and I appreciated it for what it was. And you got little things on the show. You got the secret, what was it, the secret word?
The word of the day, yeah.
Yeah, and if you said it by accident, everybody screams, right?
Yep, exactly. Oh, that's the secret word of the day. Yeah, exactly.
There was the chair cherry that had a huge mouth on it, right?
Yeah, that was a pretty iconic thing.
I wanted that chair. I think they sold toys. Somehow I never got any of the toys, but I remember wanting them. I don't know if I couldn't afford them, if I just couldn't find. Or maybe no, wait a minute. I don't think you could find them anywhere. That's how much they were selling out.
Yeah,
if memory serves.
Exactly
you
right.
Pee-wee Herman doll. You get the chair. There were other characters on the show. There was someone mentioned, I think, Dee Pensek, Cowboy Curtis.
Cowboy Curtis.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And there were other characters. You had a lady
Captain
friend,
Carl, who, like I said, Phil Hartman, who was
right.
at least partly responsible for the creation of the character. So he was in it for the first season of the show.
Okay, yeah. And he had a lady friend. I forgot who played her. She looked like a princess, though. I don't know if she was like a fairy or a princess or something like that. She would show up.
Oh, you mean Miss Yvonne?
Yeah, Miss Yvonne.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember her.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember who else was on the show. I'm sure I'm missing some people because I'm recalling all this from memory right now. I didn't do any prep for the stream, but I remember the cartoons they would show. They had the penny cartoon where 2 pennies fall and then suddenly it's a claymation thing.
Right.
That I remember that. So you'd get cartoons.
Jambi. Do you remember the blue-faced genie?
Mecca Lecca High, Mecca Hiney Ho.
Exactly.
I remember all of this stuff, even though I haven't seen the show in a dog's age. But yeah, you see these things as a child, and they stick in your head. Don't
the
they?
magic screen, which was like an Etch-a-Sketch.
I remembered that.
Yeah.
It's weird. I was a child. I mean, I wasn't so young, but I was probably under 10 when I watched this show. Yeah, so I remember it well. And it was pure magic. I remember one episode where Pee-wee Herman, I forgot what happened. I think like he was running a temperature. I'm fine. I'm not sick. And he keeps saying, and he's running around. Don't run around, Pee-wee. You'll make yourself worse. And then he's like, now I feel sick. And and he had to drink. And they said, what's the doctor's advice? Drink plenty of fluids, right?
Yep.
So
And again, that very childlike kind of attitude, right?
What does that mean? Drink water or orange juice? Like just.
Well, stay hydrated, I guess. That's never bad advice, right?
Well, no, it's always good to stay hydrated when you're in good health. Yeah,
Right.
It's one of those things.
And the chat is sharing all of their memories, too.
I should go and look at some of their comments.
The
fortune teller tells them to go to the album. I remember. I need to rewatch. I do own Pee-wee's Big Adventure on DVD. Because I'm a Tim Burton fan, and I remember that. His dog Speck, I remembered that. The Loyal Triplets, the singing group. Oh, that's right. Okay, the Del Ruvio.
Terry the Pteranodon. That's right. I remember that one, too. And Welcome the Potawatomi, and David Pensack, Lester San Jose, Auditor Dread. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Yeah, just having some great memories about a great talent. Yeah, and of course, Paul Reubens himself. I mean, it wasn't just that. He played a a smaller role in. It wasn't. Was it the Blues Brothers? Was he in the Blues Brothers?
I don't know, but he wasn't Back to the Beach.
Back to the Beach. That's right.
He pops in to do a song. I forget what song it was. Was it Louie Louie or something like that?
Oh,
That's
that
another
could be.
movie I haven't seen in ages. You've seen Back to the Beach, right? That's with
Yes.
Frankie and Annette. And what was funny about that movie is the movie plays it off like they're still acting like they're in the 50s, but it's the 80s. Like everything. Like the one kid says, "You give me peanut butter for lunch every day. I hate peanut butter." And it's like
Exactly.
and that was a hilarious movie. But Paul Reubens had shown that up in that as Pee Wee Herman. If we're a music
Yes,
person,
he
I believe.
was.
Yes.
He did play the Shea Paul waiter in the Blues Brothers. He's the one who goes,
Okay.
"Wrong glass, sir."
Right. No, Paul Reubens was showing a lot of things. He had a brief cameo in Batman Returns at the beginning as the father of the Penguin.
That's exactly. That was '92. He played Tucker Cobblepot. He was the father, kind of responsible for getting rid of Oswald. But that same year, he played the Lieutenant Vampire. I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
In,
from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's right. That was the classic. And again, this was before you had a lot of those after credit scenes and stuff, right? But anybody who ever saw Ferris Bueller knew. You know what? You spend enough money on going to see a movie at the cinema. Stay and watch all the credits. You never know. Especially a comedy, there might be something at the end. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer was one of them.
Yes.
Because, there's the scene where Paul Reubens' vampire character shows up and attacks her at her, was it prom or some dance or whatever, and she stakes him in the heart. And the staking was very different in the movie than it was in the show. In the show, you'd stake him in the heart, they'd disappear in a big puff of dust. But it was the old-fashioned stab him in the heart, they'd die, they'd fall down and die kind of thing. Well, he's been stabbed in the heart, and he takes forever to die, and he's got this whole production, and he falls over, and then she thinks it's done, he's, again, and, well, if you stay to the end of the credits, he's still there in the doorway, I mean, that was
It's funny.
a perfect humorous death scene for the character, to the point I almost wish the character would have come back during the series. And that year, that 1980? No, was it when did he when was Batman Returns and Buffy the Vampire? 1992. Yeah. That's the year that his career kind of takes a detour, because there's a bit of a scandal. We're not going to get too into that, because it's another one of those things where it was never, there was never any proof given of what was happening. His testimony versus what
they said. And frankly speaking, I mean, I don't think it was something someone's career should have been ruined over.
Absolutely not. It was one of those kinds of things where, you just had the pearl clutchers getting all... actually,
it was a different time. It's because he was also a children's entertainer.
The fact that I said pearl clutchers is kind of a double entendre I didn't intend, but it's still funny. But innocent till proven guilty, right? He was an adult who went to see a film that... an adult has a right to see, and whether he was doing anything there, you show the proof. No, don't show the proof. I don't want to see
basically, that was kind of one of the first cancel things, I think.
Exactly. Well, I wouldn't say the first, but I'd say it was the most public.
Because I remember
in the way the media
on him
handled
too, and it was just, it left me with a bad feeling.
I agree with you, and so they really put the Pee Wee Herman character on hold for a long time.
Yeah, his show got canceled. Yeah,
but his career didn't really slow down, and it was Tom Connors over on Midnight's Edge who made a great point about it. He probably did a whole lot of roles that he wouldn't have done otherwise if he'd have continued doing Pee Wee Herman. So, a lot of people are talking about, like, Mystery Men, for example, right?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Mystery Men. I forgot he was in that. I love Mystery Men. I think that movie gets superheroes more than a lot of name superhero movies. You know, if you think about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And it's funny too because it was. I mean, it didn't start at that point. If you jump back to 1986, he was the voice of Max in Flight of the Navigator, but he wasn't billed as Paul Reubens. He was billed as Paul Mall, like the cigarettes, and that was the first voice role that I'm aware of. And he did a bunch of subsequent voice roles. He was in The Nightmare Before Christmas, obviously, again, Tim Burton, right? One of the Beauty and the Beast direct-to-video films. He was in Teacher's Pet in a voice role. He was in the Smurfs movies as Jokey Smurf, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, right?
That's funny.
But yeah, so I think his voice acting career. Oh, he was also the raccoon in Dr. Dolittle back in '88.
That's right. He was on Tron Uprising too.
There you go. Yeah,
he voiced Pavel, who was a very creepy underling of the bad guy. The bad guy had played by Lance Henriksen. He had he had almost a Caligula type personality, you know, like he had like that effete Roman emperor psychotic type personality.
And there you go. That kind of character you probably wouldn't have gotten if he hadn't been kind of forcibly, separated from the Pee-wee persona, right?
Yeah.
So much the better, right? I wouldn't want to have missed him as the spleen in Mystery Men for anything. And he did return to the role of Pee Wee Herman. 2016, Pee Wee's Big Holiday.
I haven't seen that, so I should look for that. I
look into that. Absolutely.
Yeah. That must be the third Pee Wee Herman movie, so we'll see how that turned out. I'll have to watch that at some point. But unfortunately, you all probably already heard the bad news. But
yeah.
I guess I'll read a little bit of that. If we want to have anything to wrap up with, we can do that too. But
yeah, let me drop the article.
I'll go ahead.
Actually, I'm dropping the one from I don't remember if this is the one you shared or I shared, but this is the one from Variety because it just seemed more positive.
That's fine. Yeah, and do I have the one from Variety? I do. Okay. Please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing the last 6 years, wrote Reubens in a statement posted to Instagram after his death. I've always felt a huge amount of love and respect for my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you so much and enjoyed making art for you. Hold on. Stupid thing skipped down to me. All right. The Pee Wee Herman character was known for his bright red bow tie, gray suit, and flat-tip haircut, delivered his well-known catchphrases like "I know you are, but what am I?" in a distinctly squeaky, high-pitched voice. And yeah, of course, the headline reads, "Pee Wee Herman actor dies at 70 after private bout with cancer."
Yeah.
So
he'd been struggling with that for like 5-6 years, hadn't he? That's what I'd heard.
That's what he said in the post, which is awful. I feel.
And did not tell anyone. That I find so amazing, and to be honest with you, a little bit commendable. It's like that kind of goes to show. I think there's we get this idea about people in the entertainment industry. It's all about me. Focus on me. I want you to know every single issue that's going on in my life and feel sorry for me and give me attention. And this was, nope. I want you to only focus on the entertainment that I'm putting out, and the people that need to know.
Yeah, his close friends and family, maybe they knew, but yeah. Last night, we said farewell to Paul Reubens, an iconic American actor, comedian, writer, and producer whose beloved character, Pee Wee Herman, delighted generations of children and adults with his positivity, whimsy, and belief in the importance of kindness, wrote Reubens' estate in the caption. Paul bravely and privately fought cancer for years with his trademark tenacity and wit. A gift and a prolific talent, he will forever live in the comedy pantheon and in our hearts as a treasured friend and a man of remarkable character and generosity of spirit. That's a good thing. But born in New York, but raised in Sarasota, Florida, Reubens began his career in the 1970s after joining the Los Angeles live comedy troupe The Groundlings, as you were mentioning earlier. As an improvisational comedian and stage actor in 1980, he launched the Pee Wee Herman Show, a stage production centered on a fictional character he'd been developing for years. As Pee Wee became a cult figure, Reubens' show ran for 5 sold-out months, and he landed a special at HBO. Reubens also committed to the character in his interviews and public appearances. In 1985, he teamed with Tim Burton on Pee Wee's Big Adventure, the character's feature film debut, which was a critical and commercial success. Reubens returned 3 years later with a follow-up film, Big Top Pee Wee, helmed by Randall Kleiser. The character transitioned to television from 1986 to 1990 on CBS weekend morning show Pee Wee's Playhouse. And influenced by vintage kid shows like Captain Kangaroo, the artistically groundbreaking Pee Wee's Playhouse won several Emmys and featured colorful postmodernist set design and music from new wave icons like Mark Mothersbaugh, Cyndi Lauper, and the Residents, along with guest stars including Lawrence Fishburne, Natasha Lyonne, and Jimmy Smits.
Yes. Oh, I'd forgotten that. That's right.
Yeah, Jimmy Smits was on this too. Reubens said, I decided to end Pee Wee's Playhouse. Okay, well,
yeah.
We know why.
But you know what? Utter Dread brings up the analogy to Chadwick Boseman, who also chose to keep his battle with cancer private. I'll tell you what. When the story of Chadwick Boseman came up, the one I thought of was Alice Pierce, who played Gladys Kravitz on Bewitched. She also was, during the whole time she played that role, she had cancer. She knew about it, told nobody, with the full intent to work up till the day she died or could not work any longer. And you know what? Good on them. It's none of anyone's business what your current medical situation is, you know? But at the same time, I would also say you need to, in the entertainment industry, and this is going to become very, very important going forward, some of the technology we've talked about, you got to start thinking about what you're going to do, because at any time, an actor could be lost to you, you know? Whether it's you have to recast Mrs. Kravitz, or what they should have done is they should have recast Black Panther, but then Pee Wee Herman, you just cannot separate.
There's
from.
only one Pee Wee Herman.
Right.
I'm surprised. We don't live in an age where actors do this. Like we were talking about Mr. T the other week, and of course Mr. T, his character is also iconic with him in real life. So is Paul Reubens' Pee Wee Herman, and I don't see actors doing this as often these days, where they create the character and they are that character. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe people can think of examples.
That's actually a great example, because you talk about B.A. Baracus from the A-Team, or I'm forgetting his character's name from Rocky 3. But it was out of that the Pity the Fool came and all that kind of stuff, but that was him interjecting into the character. It wasn't him just playing a character. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's definitely acting that goes into that, but I mean, he's playing a stylized version of
like Howie Mandel and
Clubber
Bobby.
Lang. Thank you very much, Big Al.
Like Howie Mandel and Bobby. Of course, that was more of a voice thing, but yeah, I mean, But I'm willing to bet you that he's drawing a lot on his childhood when he does that character. Sure.
And
it's another great '80s icon gone, and it's sad.
This is another example of this is I guess one could argue, well, the '80s, people we're going to be losing people, they can't live forever, but this is another example of someone dying way too young because of cancer. There's no way that you could argue that Paul Reubens was old by any means. Certainly Chadwick Boseman wasn't.
No, definitely not. And it's sad.
And you can't even say, well, it was because they did this, that, and the other in their lifetime that led to it. No, it's just Sometimes it's just the genes. Sometimes it's just the environment. You never know what it is. You know?
never know what it is. Yeah, sometimes it runs in family. Sometimes it just crops up. Yeah, I don't know.
As another great comedian, that we've lost once said, it just goes to show you it's always something. Gilda Radner.
It's always something. Yeah, something's always going to get you in the end. It's funny. Not to mention. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I remember an episode of Gargoyles where I think it was the episode that featured Anubis, and Tony Shalhoub played this character that was trying to subdue Anubis because he wanted his son brought back, and he said, "It's not fair. You took my son from me." And Anubis, the god of death, says, "What do you mean? I'm death. I'm the fairest of all. I take rich and poor, young and
That's
old."
a good point. Yeah, that's an excellent point. But no, you weren't really so much interrupting me. I just wanted to make sure I greeted Lady Mist. Thank you so much for being here, Lady Mist. We super, super appreciate you. I super appreciate you coming in and filling in the Blue Wrench duties. On last night's stream over on Netters Network. Really, really appreciate you. So you are awesome. But you all are. All of you guys in the chat. We super, super appreciate you.
Were there some rowdy people in the chat for Cinderella Story? No, I don't know.
I wouldn't say rowdy. It was a lot of fun. I had forgotten how much I enjoyed that movie. A lot of people in the chat, including Big Al, hadn't seen the movie before and were surprised by how much they enjoyed it. And there was a lot of things that I pointed out. Going into it, as I shared out the stream, I pointed. This is kind of a departure from our topic, but I shared out on social media. This is not a Disney film. This is not a Disney live-action remake or retelling or reimagining. This is a whole different film company, right? And what it didn't dawn on me until I'm in the middle of it. I'm like, and there's no way Disney would have done this good a job with this story. No. They did. There was a bunch of, tongue-in-cheek poking at Disney, like the opening scene on the castle and everything, But it was also brilliant because it starts out with the main character telling the, kind of once upon a time type of narrative voiceover to introduce the story, and you think you're going to see, the story of Cinderella. And then you zoom in on the castle, but then you pull back from the castle, you realize it's just a snow globe. And she's living in Los Angeles with her father, or, widowed father and so forth. And da-da-da-da, and, she's not really a princess, but it's kind of like she lives in her own little kingdom because she's looking out over L.A. or whatever it is.
Right.
And it's really, really brilliant. And I'm like, that's why it's called A Cinderella Story. This isn't about Cinderella. In fact, her name isn't like Cindy or anything like that. Her name's Sam. It has nothing to do. It's just she identifies with. And there's a lot of really great modern day parallels to that story without, being dumb, And it's self-referential. They're aware within the story that this is paralleling the Cinderella story, and it's part of the story, and it was just told in such a brilliant narrative way that I just can't imagine Disney even back then doing a story that well, but anyway, sorry, get everybody off on a tangent there. Do want to give Paul Reubens his due. That's why we were kind of remembering him.
I'm gonna miss him, and like I said, I should re-look into the things. Rewatch Pee-wee's Playhouse again and maybe bring up some memories. I remember as a kid, I used to like these off-kilter Saturday morning shows more so than like stuff like He-Man or Transformers. I tended to watch the weird stuff. I used to watch Pee-wee Herman's Pee-wee's Playhouse. I used to watch the Ernest show that was on Saturday morning.
Oh, Ernest was great too. Another one that we lost to cancer.
Yeah, and the Ed Grimley show I watched, which was an animated series but had live action segments in it too because they did the Count Floyd.
Right.
Joe Flaherty is Count Floyd from SCTV reprising it, and so I used to watch these. There were some great little cartoons in the 80s or children's program in the 80s. I do miss.
And like Pee Wee Herman, and this was one of the last thing I wanted to say about Pee Wee Herman was there was this very experimental, I'd almost call it avant-garde kind of movement within entertainment, especially in children's entertainment, of this Burton-esque kind of weirdness. Not weirdness like bad, not weirdness like not even dark. I mean, even though people tend to think, Tim Burton dark, is it really? When you really dig into it, it's really. Like, no, it's not. Maybe it deals with, dark settings, dark characters, and concepts, but the actual story, when you really dig into it, not really.
You know what it is? I guess it makes you feel like if you're a weird kid, you feel less weird watching things. That's how I look at it. Because I remember being a kid, I really was obsessed with the Universal monsters, and I wonder if that was some kind of psychological thing. How young kid, red hair, so you're already out of step with the other kids. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I often wonder, and then of course you had things like Pee-wee's and Oddball, and have all these oddball Tim Burton, the Tim Burton aesthetic and stuff. And
I think
that's why I grasp.
Stuff. Matanui says campy, and I'd say campy is probably a great descriptor. But I think the best descriptor, and I think it's something that's really missing from entertainment now, fun. It was fun.
Yeah, fun.
Oh. Not enough fun. The entertainment industry feels like they gotta suck the fun out of everything. They've got to deconstruct, which literally means destroy, right? Push away the fans, push away anyone that would like this thing, and anyone that does watch it, we're not looking for you to be inspired by it, we're looking to make you as miserable as freaking possible, which maybe is a good segue into our next topic, which is actually the topic from hopefully you guys were hanging out with Deleted Scenes for his Unscripted. Toss a lump of coal at your Witcher.
I don't know if my thoughts are gonna be yours, because unfortunately I came into it right after he was done with his I don't want to say rant because I didn't listen to it, but he sounded a little angry. And I was like, what did I miss? I put a smiley face. I do want to see, but I'm wondering. I suspect he Deleted Scenes and I are on the same page. But
probably.
Witcher was slammed after blaming American fans for show's disappointing season. I don't even know where to begin with this, but we'll just read the article and then we'll get to it. Fans of The Witcher have blasted the show's executive producer, Tomek Baginski, after he gave an interview to a European news site where he blamed American audiences for the underwhelming third season. Baginski, who was Polish, appeared to suggest that he had been forced to dumb down the storylines for the United States market. Season 3 of the hit Netflix series saw a drop in viewership and was regarded as a disappointment by many after its widely praised second season, with fans saying the series had strayed from writer Andrzej Sapkowski's original source material. Mm-hmm. Speaking to the Polish website Wyborcza, Baginski said, when a series is made for a huge mass of viewers with different experiences from different parts of the world, and a large part of them are Americans, these simplifications not only make sense, they are necessary. It's painful for us and for me too, but the higher level of nuance and complexity will have a smaller range. It won't reach people we added. Fans of the Witcher Reddit forum took issue with Baginski's statement, with one viewer writing, "We all know it's easier to blame the fans than to take responsibility." One fan pointed out how Baginski's reasoning doesn't make sense. If he says they dumbed down the show to reach a larger audience, the viewership should have increased if he was correct. The fact that viewership decreased and people complained about how dumb the show was means they underestimated their audience and shouldn't have dumbed it down at all. Actually, that person couldn't say it better than myself. The entitlement is just beyond comprehension, said another. This guy is one of the main producers of the show, and if you look at past comments, seems to have been instrumental in the overall strategy of reducing a treasure trove of material from the games and books, which was revered by millions, down to what we have, wrote another commenter. Baginski had made similar comments in the past, telling Polish YouTube channel Improderabilia last year, when it comes to shows, the younger the public is, the logic of the plot is less significant. Those people grew up on TikTok and YouTube. They jumped from video to video, noting that younger fans cared more about emotions than plot. I'm getting really angry. Okay, it sounds like Baginski is incapable of comprehending that the
So
series
let's kind of deconstruct this argument.
There's
Okay,
a lot of stuff here I don't
let's
like.
back off to what the one commenter on Reddit said. Absolutely right. If you dumbed it down to reach a larger audience and actually lost viewership, that means you failed. Your supposition, your hypothesis was proven wrong. Because had it been right, you would have had more of an audience. Okay, so let's start right there. I suppose, from a certain point of view, you can blame the audience for not liking your show, and that is the reason that your thing failed. But that's kind of like blaming the wood house for burning when you set it on fire. Okay? Seriously. This is, again, someone not taking responsibility for, your job. Your job is to tell this story. And when you are taking on someone else's IP, an already established storyline based on, if I understand correctly, another country's folklore.
Yes, Poland,
right?
I assume. Yeah.
You have an obligation not to dumb it down, but to honor that source material, tell it appropriately, and if you must, elegantly educate the audience. I will give you a perfect example of someone taking a very complex and difficult source material and very cleverly educating the audience so they understand it, and that's Vinny Villeneuve with Dune. Dune, we've talked about, we did a full stream about it, we've talked about it, where when David Lynch did it, they literally gave out crib sheets so that you could understand these words and the characters and the organizations and stuff and all the backstory and the very rich world. And a lot of people were like, I'm not going to do homework going into this movie to try and understand it. That was unfortunately because David Lynch's hands were tied as he was trying to tell this story. Vinny Villeneuve said, if I'm doing this, you're letting me do it my way. First thing I'm doing is this is not going to be squashed into one movie. I'm spreading it over two movies. And he very elegantly, in the writing, single lines here and there, imply the greater world, imply these organizations, their importance, who they are, what they represent in the overall world. And if you still don't understand it, well, guess what? We live in a freaking information age. All that information is available to you. You can read the book. You can read the Wikipedia summary of it. You could read, all the different social media posts where people that love these things are talking about it. And The Witcher, for crying out loud, go play the damn game because it's fun.
This attitude reminds me of something out of Fahrenheit 451 or some other dystopian movie like THX, where you have these really stupid programs being shown for people that are really dumbed down. That's what
I would say.
Yes.
They think we. Although I do see the world going this way, I think people like this think we already live in the world of idiocracy.
No.
Where TV is nothing but a bunch of people getting kicked in the ding dong so that you can laugh at it,
when I was a kid, I mean, granted, Batman the Animated Series came out when I was in high school, but that was a intelligently written cartoon series. I mean, it was geared at the young audience, but it was intelligently written. It respected the intelligence of its audience. Old Looney Tunes cartoons respected the intelligence of the audience. I think Mark Bauerlein once made a comment that there was more. You could learn more from Foghorn Leghorn as far as speaking English properly than a lot of adult series on at night or something.
Exactly.
You don't treat your audience, even if they're young, as if they're stupid. You respect the audience, and the audience is not going to understand everything.
Speaking of children, right? You're thinking about children. I remember who is in your mind the foremost child entertainer and educator of our generation, Mr. Rogers.
Of course.
And he always said, I never, Never talk down to children. Children are smart. They understand.
Yes.
And I speak to children the way I speak to adults. And he had that very mild-mannered, soft way of talking. And you'd think, well, that's how he talks to children. No! That is how he talked to adults in his real life. You know? Don't dumb it down. Don't dumb it down for children. Don't dumb it down for your audience.
No.
Look, your audience, too, they are going in a group of friends. If there's something... it's happened with me and Nanette. I am a big fan of whatever this IP is. She doesn't understand it. She asks me, what is that? And I explain the whole backstory. Let me tell you, people going to see these Marvel films for the past decade and a half, you better believe they would leave the thing and then there would be someone, with you at the Denny's or whatever, telling you, okay, so there was this little Easter egg. Let me explain that to you. This is such and such a blah, 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 and this and that and the other, right? So what you end up having is an audience that may have gone in not knowing these characters, not understanding it, but somebody that they went to see this with, now they're all into it, and then the next movie comes out and you wrote it stupid because you didn't bother to get caught up on the source material, and you're making up a bunch of crap, and now everybody's disappointed. And that's why the Marvel films are where they are.
I hate to say this. You know what comes to mind when you're saying all this? Star Trek.
Well, you can apply it to everything. You can apply it to Star Trek. You can apply it to Star Wars,
Yes.
DC, Marvel, and for crying out loud, The Witcher. And you want to blame the audience? You can blame the audience for not being what you expected them to be, but it's your own fault. And you haven't learned nothing.
It's the stupidest thing to blame the audience.
Well, and we've said this from a business standpoint, right? Why it is never a good idea to attack the audience because they're the ones you want to come see your damn film or TV show or whatever it is. You piss them off. It's like beating a dog. You're not going to get them to do what you want. All it's going to do is turn on you and bite you.
I don't know. Just thinking of Star Trek. Star Trek was considered family hour, but there were some complex concepts in that show sometimes. And then you get to Picard where the F words being dropped, and it is dumbed down for what we had when it was a family series.
Well, I do love the fact that one line from the first season of Picard keeps coming back, being used pointed at them.
Yeah.
Sheer fucking hubris.
Yes.
That is what you people are doing.
I mean, I don't get it, and especially with this gentleman being Polish. This was a big moment for Poland. This series. This is your heritage, being put on display here. Now I don't know how much Netflix interfered with the making of this show. So maybe he was given orders to dumb it down, but I don't know what he was doing under his own volition, what he was being ordered to do by other people involved. But the fact is, don't have contempt for your audience.
Yeah.
Because if you
I can understand, maybe, due to politics and stuff, maybe not biting the hand that feeds you, not, lashing out at the studio or whatever, if that's the kind of pressure he's getting. But that does not excuse going after the fans. This is ridiculous. This is adding insult to injury, and it's certainly not helping your show get another season.
I also don't like this, Americans are stupid. That's the basic thing.
It's a great way to not have Americans watch your crap.
America is a weird, complex country, okay? It is.
There's Polish people that live here, by the way.
Yeah.
Polish people that emigrated here, Polish people that are visiting here, Polish people that have family here.
Yeah. And
Polish people that have been called stupid here, by the way.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm very tasteless. Yeah, people keep thinking it's always been, this is, let's face facts. Polish people, they I want to say let's face facts. Poland just recently got out of the mire, history-wise. They got it from both a certain German regime and also the Soviets. So
look, and I'm just going to say, you can point to whatever oppression your people have ever faced. As soon as you start putting that oppression on someone else, you give up the moral high ground. You're done. You're no better than the people you claim to, dislike or that mistreated you.
Blame the audience because your future projects or success will depend on them. And keep in mind, I think this is the last season with Henry Cavill as is it Gerald? That's his name on the show. To be fair, I'm not super familiar with The Witcher. I know of it through osmosis, but I've not actually played the game or watched the.
Yeah, I thought that he was already out, and season 3 was the new guy or something.
We're still on Witcher news. Let's move on to the next thing.
You got it.
I want to make a point, too, before we get in this article. I'm not casting aspersions on the actress they did cast as Jennifer on the show. I'm not blaming her for any of this. She may have even been unaware these were the reasons for her casting. But frankly, I think she's actually stayed kind of loyal to Henry Cavill. She was not happy about him being...
which is probably why she got thrown under the bus.
Witcher casting director says Yennefer casting was to challenge beauty standards, which is completely insane. This is from Forbes. And again, I don't know if you had talked about this at all, deleted scenes on your rant, but casting has become a great deal more diverse and a great deal more controversial when it comes to big tentpole fantasy series these days. At the center of these controversial choices are casting directors. Sophie Holland is the casting director for a number of major TV series, including Wednesday, Shadow and Bone, and The Witcher on Netflix, as well as The Peripheral on Amazon Prime Video. In a recent interview with Variety, Holland revealed that her casting choices, in many ways, a form of social justice activism. Activism, not Activision. Excuse me.
A little slip of the tongue.
Yes,
she said,
I guess they're worst Freudian things to make.
Yeah.
She said in the interview that during her work on the Kill Team, she realized that casting wasn't just about finding beautiful people who could do the American accent convincingly, but that casting could have a real profound impact on the people watching it. In Holland's mind, she can help girls and women by making specific casting choices. She couldn't necessarily help people in real life, but what I could do is change the way people see women through casting. I can make them powerful and empowering, and then the floodgates will open to them. Speaking of The Witcher and the casting of Anya Chalotra as Yennefer, Holland said, I am always the first to champion diversity in all the glory. One that springs to mind was the character of Yennefer on The Witcher. Lauren Smith Hishrick is the showrunner. We work so well together that she's open to conversations. In the book, she's described as the most beautiful woman in the world. This was a few years ago, and I'd like to think things have changed, but when you think about people's unconscious bias, especially in the fantasy world, it felt like these worlds were predominantly white, and I remember saying, I feel like we need to challenge what people think of as the standard of beauty, and have a woman of color in this role does incredibly powerful things to the people watching. Now, this is not Holland saying that Chalotra is ugly or that they cast someone ugly to play the role of the most beautiful woman in the world. There's been other casting choices for Sorceress in the Netflix show that I find deeply questionable and flagrantly unfaithful to the source material, which Holland's sentiments help explain. Rather, Holland is saying that she is challenging the quote-unquote standard of beauty by casting a woman with slightly darkened skin. I do understand that Western fantasy is predominantly white, but I disagree fundamentally with the notion that the standard of beauty for most people is being white. I don't think anyone in the entire world outside of this tiny, tiny sliver of absolute racist scumbags would look at Anya Chalotra and think anything other than this woman is jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Casting Chalotra may challenge our perception of fantasy as white, a complicated discussion on its own, but it does nothing to challenge any standard of beauty. This is the person writing for Forbes.
Right. And again, they're moving the goalpost here because, again, nobody is saying that Anya Chalotra is anything but beautiful.
Yes, yes.
That is not the issue.
It's not what we're questioning here. The questioning is you're putting your
activism... She is purposely avoiding actual reasonable issues that people have. Again, we pointed out that this isn't just and this is that derogatory look at fantasy. It's fiction. We can do whatever we want with it. No, this is fantasy based on folklore, based on a country's heritage. So unless you're okay with cultural appropriation, just say it. You know,
You should probably be casting actors of Polish descent, or even Polish actors on the show, which
right?
might have been an interesting change of pace. Not that I have anything against the actor, this actress they picked. She's fine, but I I don't like the idea of casting directors putting activism ahead of the creative process.
I mean, this is not
what is going to be best for the show.
I am not going to say this is as egregious as Disney's, Off-White and the Seven Hippies, but, it's bordering on that.
What my issue with their Snow White is the actress they pick keeps running her mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had diverse actors play Snow White before. You had Kristen Cruitt played her on a mini series.
Yeah.
It's the fact that when this was first announced, I think Rachel Ziegler was saying something about, all the white people are going to be upset about this, and it's like no one had said anything yet. I felt like she was poking, and I didn't appreciate it, but that's okay. I don't think we should be challenging beauty standards about a show about a woman who is grotesquely disfigured and uses magic to transform herself into the most beautiful woman in the world. We should 100% lean into standard notions of beauty for such a character, and Anna Shalatra is perfect casting choice precisely because she's so stunningly beautiful, because she's a great actress. If anything, the star of the show, at least through season 6, is Henry Cavill, and he's far, far too good looking to play Gerald Rivera, who's canonically not very handsome at all. But in any case, it's all a little silly to me. If you want to make a world a better place, go to work at a soup kitchen, donate clothes to the homeless, get your hands dirty. Casting directors need to pick the best people for the job, who can act, who look the part, who help enrich the story and the world. The last thing any of these fantasy shows need is activists pushing their political agendas.
Yeah.
And one thing that also bothers me too, I don't want actors like from diverse backgrounds being used as almost like battering rams for these causes too.
Yeah.
I felt Idris Elba was used like whenever they brought up, changing Bond.
And interestingly, he never was a part of that.
No, he wasn't.
They literally were co-opting him.
Yeah, and I didn't like that. He's a good actor, and I didn't appreciate him being misused like that. He doesn't even like to talk about that anymore. People break down.
Luddites are us is here. Yeah. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Yes, it's okay that you're late, but we are. But you are here, and that's what's important. What's also important is that you hit that thumbs up button. I hope everyone has done that.
I do own a copy of The Witcher Wild Hunt. I just never got around to playing it, but I have the PlayStation.
You own a physical copy, or you have a streaming or you've got a digital version that may have now swapped out what Yennefer looks like.
Okay,
just saying.
I do have a physical copy, but I have to tell you something. In modern gaming, there are no real physical copies anymore. Yeah. I've had it be. I know that with I think Nintendo had to recast a voice actor that got into trouble in one of the Fire Emblem games, and they just replaced it with a patch. They got a different voice actor.
Yeah.
I know that Sega, I think with one of the Yakuza games, I could be wrong on this, but I think it might have been in a remaster, but maybe it was in the original version. I think the actor was caught with drugs in Japan. Being caught with drugs is a very serious offense, and societally, if you're an actor, you're done if you're caught cocaine in your apartment or something. So they replaced the actual actor in the game, and they changed because the characters look like the actors that voicing them in those games. So they actually changed the entire thing. So it can happen in games. You can get things corrected post with a patch.
Yeah.
If you own a physical copy, you can probably delete it, reinstall it without the patch. But yeah, it's just the age we're living in now. It's the age of compromise.
But it's an interesting way to retcon. Can you imagine if they wanted to recast retroactively, some movie? Your movie is just suddenly altered, and now,
I'm terrified about
William Catt is now playing Luke Skywalker instead of Mark Hamill.
You know what? William Catt could have played Luke Skywalker.
He absolutely could have.
Think about it.
He absolutely could have.
He has that same quality, actually.
Yep. He read for the role. He could have done it.
I could have seen him as Luke Skywalker. He sounds like Luke Skywalker. He has the same kind of Mark Hamill style voice, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's a good actor. He was in those House movies. Remember those House
movies?
Yes.
I loved those movies. Yeah.
I liked House. House was so terrible. It was... They did the Vietnam flashback.
The Richard Mole bit. Yeah, exactly.
You wake up, we got a war to lose. It's like, it's just, You know what they said about House? Not to get off on a House tangent.
Mm.
They said that was the horror movie. That was the R-rated horror movie that was really made for kids.
Kinda, yeah, you're
It was
kind of right.
R-rated, so but as a kid you would sneak and watch it, thinking you're watching. But it's if you look at it, it's I don't even know why it's.
It wasn't even really that scary.
Maybe
It was,
because the one scene, the grandmother you see her hanging. Maybe that's why. Maybe it was the hanging scene.
or there's the the what's it called, the grenade being stuck into the guy's ribs.
Probably, yeah.
But,
Maybe that was
I mean,
that stuff. It just edged it out to an R rating because
Yeah,
it's
and
scary stuff, but it's like goofy scary.
welcome CK, but CK and Netter were both shouting, "Greatest American Hero, Greatest American Hero!" Yes, yes. William Cat was also the greatest American hero. Uh-huh.
There you are.
Joey Scarberry, yes. There you go.
Has aged really well, actually. Do you know what I found funny about an episode of The Greatest American Hero? I think that he's wanting the kids to learn a Shakespeare play, and I think the teens are like, "Oh, I want to do Brando," and I think they were talking about Tennessee Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, to think that back then the kids were into Tennessee Williams at least, you know?
Right, exactly. Exactly right.
But again, don't treat your audience, the young people, as they're stupid or incapable of looking up from their devices. People can get exposed to different things in different ways. It's funny. I remember when I took my first film history class, and I watched the Francois Truffaut's The 400 Blows, and I hadn't really seen a lot of this art house cinema, but because I'd watched so many movies growing up, I at least had the blueprint for watching. So, you know, if you make a good fantasy series based on a game they like, but it's well written and intellectually up to date, it will actually broaden their horizons to watch something else someday too that may not even be fantasy based. You know, it's all. Anyway, I don't know. I'm getting off on a tangent. Where are we? Where are we going next?
She-Hulk goes off on Disney. she's gonna She-Hulk explain to Bob Iger.
You know what? I've realized the entire Marvel line of Disney Plus series has been an utter catastrophe. Have any of them even been good? I mean, I think I heard that Ms. Marvel was the best of them. That's what I'd heard. But even that, I don't know.
Yeah, I've bugged out. I don't even care anymore. And to be honest with you, this whole experience has going into She-Hulk. I was excited about the casting, but
good actress. Yeah, I mean she's been.
Well, she was, but now I cannot go back to the show that she used to be in. Tatiana Maslany is you know, I don't want to see anything she's in ever again now.
Yeah. She-Hulk attorney-at-law star Tatiana Maslany has lashed out at Disney CEO Bob Iger following his comments about Hollywood's ongoing strike action just prior to members of the Screen Actors Guild joining the Writers Guild of America on the picket lines. Iger conducted a televised interview where he declared the union's respected demands were just not realistic. The Disney CEO, who reportedly commands an annual paycheck worth $27 million, was quickly condemned for his comments by a range of pundits, including Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Anson Mount, and even Walt Disney's own great-grandies, Abigail Disney. Maslany, who helmed the Disney Plus series She-Hulk Attorney-at-Law, is now one of the latest to add her voice to Iger's list of outspoken critics. Speaking with The Hollywood Reporter whilst on the picket lines in New York, the Emmy Award-winning actress described her Disney boss as completely out of touch with those responsible for making his company's content. Check out her comments below. I'll read them to you.
Okay.
I think he's completely out of touch. He's completely out of touch with the workers who make the shows happen, who make people watch these shows, who bring viewers to him and him money. Having worked on a Disney show, I know where people fall through the cracks and where people are taken advantage of, and it's outrageous the amount of wealth that is not shared with the people who actually make the show. That's crew, cast, and writers. Has She-Hulk made any money? That's my big question.
Well, I would argue that nothing that was made for their streaming service actually makes money. It's a lost leader. All the money goes into creating this, and they don't make any additional money off of it once it goes to the streaming service.
I mean, we've argued that, yeah, people have not been getting their fair share. Like the creator of the Winter Soldier character in Marvel Comics, how he was getting kind of screwed.
Right.
out of the movie night. So we are sympathetic.
And the whole over, and we'll get more into this on Friday when we talk more about the strike and the moving parts involved there. But and so what she's saying isn't wrong. Okay, this whole streaming thing, and this goes back to the what's her name, Scarlett Johansson case against Disney. You know, she was front runner on this. It's like, you know, you made a decision that goes against what we'd already, agreed to in my contract, and I'm suing you over it. And they paid her specifically. Now all of Hollywood is basically fighting that same fight and saying, look, you know, for all this work that we've been doing, you know, and there is this attitude that people like Bob Iger have, this very Marie Antoinette, let him eat cake kind of mentality. When I'm reading an article about him getting his contract extended, about him building a new house, you know, and whatnot, while the company is literally going bankrupt around him, you know, as a former shareholder, I got out of it because I saw it was a bad investment, among other reasons. I look at it and go, why do you think you deserve this? Okay, and now going to her specific point, his comments, okay, if you are in the midst of negotiations, which is what this is, he is in negotiations with the labor union, right? He and the industry is in negotiations with the industry, with the unions. You don't go saying this. This is the kind of thing you might say at the table. I could see him saying that, trying to make his argument for why we can't meet your demands. You don't take that into the public sphere, because all that does is piss off all the people that are on the picket line, all the people that support them, and honestly, it starts to erode your support in the court of public opinion. But this is the kind of stupidity that a professional weather guesser would make, not somebody who actually was, you know, an intelligent leader who actually deserves to write a book about leadership.
It is interesting how everything's now turning on Iger, it seems. I mean, I don't think it's gotten full tilt yet, but I don't know. There's some cracks in his visage right now. They're like they used. Remember when Chapek was like, everybody loved Iger, we want Iger back, and now looks like they're turning on Iger now. It sounds.
Luddites Are Us makes the point. Disney Marvel films weren't designed for streaming. And the episode format, the adaptation and changing direction wrecked the franchise.
Yeah.
I would argue there's a lot more that went into wrecking the franchise than just that, but you're absolutely right. We've seen it not just with Marvel. We saw it with the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett. Both of those were originally intended to be standalone movies. And what was the biggest argument about both of those shows? That they dragged on. They were way too long to tell a story that could have been done as a 2-hour film. And if they had done it that way, it would have been much better. And simple business 101, you put it out at the theater, you make your money at the theater. You put it on stream, you make your money off the stream. You license it out to commercial television, make some money there. You put it out on DVD and Blu-ray, you make some money there. But no, they ended all of those revenue streams to put it out on their proprietary streaming service that less and less and less people are subscribing to. That's the problem, and that's where the money's being lost. And that's another reason why I can understand these people being a little upset. They're working for a company that is not making good business decisions, rewarding morons like Iger, and These people are going broke, is what's really happening.
Let me see. Yeah, they mentioned Thor: Love and Thunder, Shang-Chi, and the Ten Rings, and all these other things. Let's see though. Future projects, progress on future projects like Deadpool 3 and Disney Plus Daredevil Born Again series have now come to a halt. So those movies are halted right now. I mean,
good. I mean, on the one hand, from the standpoint of the collective bargaining of the labor union, that's exactly what they want. They want to. We're not going to be making money, but neither will you, and you need to realize how valuable we are. Without us, you can't continue to make a profit. But at the same time, there's a rumor going around, and I don't think it's a hard rumor to I would have suspected this was the case anyway, that Disney is going to use this just like they did the pandemic and just like they did everything else to use as a defense for why they're losing money, why this project needs to be scrapped, so on and so forth. Scrap a bunch more projects that they know are not going to make them any money. Take a tax write-off on them, fire everyone involved in it that they want to get rid of, and possibly use it as an opportunity to... it's the same thing that companies do when they declare bankruptcy, right? They declare bankruptcy, they rejigger things within, whether it's financially or whatever, and then they start getting profitable again. Well, this is the step before going bankrupt. This is their own restructuring and pointing to force majeure, and saying, well, it wasn't our fault that they went on strike, so we had to nix this project and that project and so on and so forth. And as long as we had to do that, we're getting rid of all these people that greenlit them, and we'll start bringing in people that will actually start making some decent films. That's the possible silver lining. Whether that actually happens, I don't know, but it should.
Black Widow, the movie that had Scarlett Johansson, Rachel Weisz, Florence Pugh, and Olga Kurylenko, and I said no thanks.
I know, that is saying quite a bit.
I watched Black Widow. I got it out from the library because my mom wanted to see it. I figured my compromise was I'm not going to the theater to see this, but I'll check it out from the library. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't good. And one of my big issues with the movie was it's very obvious a role in the movie that was meant for Robert Downey Jr. For Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And they had a different actor kind of filling in that role, a different character, and I'm like, I could tell this was supposed to be Tony Stark.
Yeah. And
so
there's also the fact that most fans looked at it and said, I wanted this 10 years ago. 7 years ago. It's too late now. You already killed off this character. It's kind of the same thing that they would say about Solo Star Wars story.
Yeah. I liked Red Guardian, disliked he's an old fat white man thing. Well, it's because everyone has to be the butt of the joke in the Marvel movies now. Everything has to... They all have to be...
Not to mention that this is also, again, keep in mind, this is, again, the Russophobia of Hollywood, right? This anti-Russian, pro-Ukraine, stupidity. And they forget, the thing that they're hating, right, grew out of the socialism that they are now propagating.
The problem with no one is making any money is that by the time everyone sits down again, we're going to be not interested in seeing what they'll do to make money. We've all moved on. I think
I would argue that's already the case.
I think Disney's in for a rude awakening with Marvel, right?
We had already lost interest before this strike. So this doesn't make it worse. It potentially actually makes it better. It gives them a chance to change. But if not, it's at least these actors saying, you know what, no more. No more of this. You you are making it impossible for us to do this job any longer. And I think a lot of them are going to be doing just that. We've already seen Disney mistreat the best actors and directors and CG artists to the point that they won't work with Disney anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, why don't you post the next article? Secret Invasion.
Yeah, another show that I have not watched, will not watch, have absolutely no interest in watching.
The scuttlebutt, as Aquafina might say.
Remember the rock? Yeah.
Oh man, it's the worst.
I know.
It gets stuck in your head. Okay, in hindsight, Secret Invasion used an appropriate device, shape-shifting alien Skrulls masquerading as humans as the basis for a Marvel series that didn't seem to know precisely what it intended to be. While the showcase for Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury has connections to Marvel's next aspiring blockbuster, The Marvels, the show mostly illustrated how the studio's Disney Plus theatrical crossover strategy might have reached its limit. So now even the mainstream press, this is CNN.
Exactly. CNN.
Yeah.
Not what you'd call a right-wing type of,
outfit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Indeed, if Disney is serious about paring down its slate of original productions, as CEO Bob Iger has indicated, skipping something like Secret Invasion, which no doubt sounded like a good idea when Jackson said yes, would have been a logical place to start. That's not to say the show is without its merits. Some of them were featured in July 26th finale Home, which didn't completely finish the story, but offer a nice moment for high-profile new characters played by Olivia Colman, the best thing about this project, and Emilia Clarke as British spy master Sonia Falsworth, and the Skrull Gia, respectively. That included a tricky showdown that included Gia to achieve revenge against the Skrull leader Gravik, who, through the course of 6 episodes, has cemented his bad guy credentials by killing off a pair of recurring Marvel characters and trying to assassinate the President of the United States, played by Dermot Mulroney. Yeah, that's interesting. What's her name? The one who was played by Colby Smulders. Her character got killed on the show, I think. Spoiler, I'm sorry. The finale also saw...
Well, it's not like they were doing anything with her. We wanted something from that character, but they never did anything with her, so whatever.
They were going to pair her up with Captain America, but that didn't happen. Okay, anyway.
Well, because they crapped all over the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. They certainly crapped all over Captain America, so, I mean... Does it matter that they killed off her character? Nobody cares anymore.
Don't call it Secret Invasion, not follow the comics. Well, it's almost like when they put Taskmaster in Black Widow and had the character nothing like the comic book version, just because they liked the name.
Exactly.
So let's see here. So Secret Invasion left behind some loose ends, did without the customary post-credit sequence, and at times felt awfully talky for a show that kept name-checking the Avengers, and especially Captain Marvel. They've name-checked Captain Marvel more than she's been in these movies.
Yeah. Talk about a Talon Don't show. They keep mentioning her as and I'm especially thinking about that Ms. Marvel show where she was such a big fan of Captain Marvel. Why are you a fan of hers? What has she done to earn your great approval?
Wouldn't it make sense to have Brie Larson's Captain Marvel show up in an episode or two of these two series? Just to
she's too big for that. She's not going to be in a streaming show.
Problem.
Yes, she is. She's the biggest thing in Hollywood. She's the biggest thing in Disney.
It's because she won the Oscar. I think she had a big head that way. But...
Heck, they're going to put a lightsaber in her hand and turn her into a Jedi, too.
You know it's going to happen. I don't know, though. We'll see.
And then she grouses, does anyone want me to be in it? I don't know. No, you dumb bitch. Nobody does want you in anything.
Yeah, since Marvel began producing shows for Disney streaming service, one of the major advantages has been the latitude to spend more time with characters in a way that's seldom possible in the context of blockbuster film. Those stories have also served what amounts to interconnective tissue with the movies, such as the way WandaVision played into Doctor Strange sequel, and The Falcon and Winter Soldier paved the way for Captain America's changing of the guard.
Yeah.
I thought the changing of the guard happened at the end of Endgame.
Yeah, when all the women came together and, you know,
Well, so
established the MCU. We're taking over the, you know, I'm a Barbie girl in a friggin' Barbie universe.
all right. Does anyone know why they call her Captain Marvel? Or why does she not age since 1995? Like most people, no one cares on the finance. I assume she got hit with the Tesseract, so that makes her not age anymore.
Well, she's the bestest ever. You know, she's stronger than everybody. She doesn't age, you know.
What happened to Dermot Mulroney's bullshit detector? I don't know. Apparently, he's not going to be the president anyway in the new Captain America movie. That's going to be Harrison Ford.
Oh, poor Harrison Ford. Why does he keep getting involved in projects that are not...
You know who he's playing? He's playing Thunderbolt Ross. Who was played by what's his name in the other Marvel movies, because the actor died, so he's now taking over that role.
Whatever.
Anyway,
so in other words, he's going to be in another blockbuster film that nobody's actually going to go watch.
I assume it's to pave the way for the Thunderbolts, which is also supposed to come out next summer, but of course will probably be postponed. Which I guess is the Marvel's
no, that
version.
means he's got to play like the Red Hulk and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, I think the Red Hulk is going to be in the new Captain America movie. They said that was going to happen. So yeah, I guess
oh my God. They literally, look, they use this as, look, we're drawing from the comics, you should like this. Well, look at the sales on those comics. Did anyone like the comics? No. You dumbass, you've got over 70 years of great comics to draw on, and you're drawing from the ones that are least liked. That's like putting the spoiled milk back in the fridge, hoping it'll be better tomorrow.
Replace William Hurt, but not Chadwick. None of these decisions make any sense. They'll CGI in Grand Moff Tarkin rather than have another actor play him, but then they'll use another.
You know who they should have cast as Thunderbolt Ross? Sam Neill, or not Sam Neill. Oh damn it, what's his name?
Okay.
The cowboy, Sam. He was.
Oh, I know who you're thinking of. He was in Roadhouse.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Stephen, help me. Yes, Sam Elliott. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. And David Bensack too. I knew. I look up because I'm like, I know those guys are gonna know.
Sam Elliott played Ross in the Ang Lee Hulk movie.
Yup.
I argued when they weren't going to get Norton back, they should have recast Eric Bana as the Hulk, but they went with Mark Ruffalo.
Yup.
I don't. Then again, maybe they were trying to distance themselves away from that. I don't know.
I get that, but it's like, look, when you got a good casting, stick with it. You know?
Well, maybe. I'm going to argue against that, though, in a little bit, though. So we'll get
Well, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be shit no matter what they do.
Okay,
you know?
Did Secret Invasion director just admit just not watching the MCU? Yeah, go ahead and post this next one.
Does not shock me. I mean, I just pretty much at this point assume that nobody that's making these movies knows thing one about the stories they're supposed to be telling.
I made the joke when Jon Favreau watched The Mandalorian and there were inconsistencies with events in Rise of Skywalker. I said, I don't think Jon Favreau bothered watching Rise of Skywalker. That's what I think happened. That was being facetious. Maybe I was right. I don't know.
No, I think you're more right than you realize.
In addition to leaving viewers absolutely disappointed, the finale of Secret Invasion also left viewers totally confused about Rhodey. He's a war machine, Iron Patriot, right? Yeah. So,
right.
While the reveal of Rhodes as a Skrull was a predictable twist, it left everyone scratching their heads when one particular question: when did Rhodey become a Skrull? In a recent interview with Comicbook.com, the director of Secret Invasion, Ali Salim, shared his point of view on the whole Skrull Rhodey situation. He didn't give a definitive answer, but he suggested that Rhodey had been a Skrull since the events of Captain America: Civil War in 2016. This revelation has sent shockwaves through the MCU fandom, as it implies Rhodey was a Skrull during his appearances in Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame. Salim's comment have sparked a flurry of speculation and debate among fans on Reddit. Many are questioning whether the director has actually watched the MCU movies. Others are hoping that this will be later explained in Armor Wars, as Salim said, or it'll be answered in Armor Wars. Okay. I'm sorry, I like that sentence.
I know.
One user, River Odessa, humorously suggested that Marvel might reveal Tony Stark as an Asgardian in a few years. Another user, Hammerhead Hunter, pointed out that the Skrull version of Rhodey seemed to have an uncanny knowledge of the time travel movies. The director's comments have certainly stirred the pot, leading to a whirlwind of theories and debates among the fans. It's clear that this revelation has dramatically changed the perspective of past events in the MCU. Throughout Infinity War and Endgame, Rhodey displays a deep emotional connection to his fellow Avengers. Just remember his interaction with Nebula, for example. He seemed genuine and human, not something a Skrull imposter would likely be able to replicate so convincingly. It is not so implausible that Rhodey we saw in those movies was a Skrull that if it is later confirmed, it would be one of the dumbest moves in the MCU. But at the moment, it really looks like the director of Secret Invasion didn't burden himself too much with the events of previous projects.
Honestly, like I said going into this is the same. I've come to the conviction that we have people writing this genre material not knowing what genre they're working on. This would be like trying to write a Romeo and Juliet movie. If you've never read Romeo and Juliet, you have no idea what it's about. You don't know anything about 14th century Italy. You don't know anything about Shakespeare, right? I mean, it makes me think of going back to Star Trek again. That the episode Darmok, right? They use Romeo and Juliet as a perfect example because the Tamarians use allegory. The reason that they can't understand is because they're using allegory to things in their culture that the Federation doesn't know anything about.
Right.
And Deanna Troi says it would be like, if I were to say to you, Juliet on her balcony. Well, that means something to you if you know what Romeo and Juliet is. And Crusher says, if you didn't know who Juliet was or what she was doing on the balcony, the image alone wouldn't have any meaning. And that's exactly how I feel when I go see these modern Marvel films. It's like, I know this story. This ain't it.
Last article, I'm hoping in the Secret Invasion thing.
Luddites Are Us has a great little fan theory, but the problem with fan theories, as I've many times pointed out, is that they often make a whole friggin' lot more sense than the actual writers come up with. That is sad.
Yeah, I think sometimes the fans put more thought into these series than what the writers end up doing. But
well, clearly.
Let's go to the final article in this. Were you at all interested in watching Secret Invasion?
No, not at all. You know I haven't had any interest in anything Marvel related in a very, very, very long time.
I figured it would explain why Nick Fury was off-planet at the end of Spider-Man.
Never even thought about it. Never even cared.
Spider-Man Far From Home and No Way Home, when they say, Nick Fury can vouch for me where I was doing...
I lost any interest in Nick Fury when I found out he got his eye scratched out by an alien cat because he was chasing after some hot blonde poontang.
No. What happened in the... I think it was in Captain America Winter Soldier when Nick Fury... Or it was one of those... It might have been that one where he explains that, see this eye, this happened because I trusted somebody, okay, and the thing is that's not what happened. You weren't betrayed, and that's how you lost your eye. You were fooling around with a space cat. So
yeah,
you either lied there, which is kind of a dishonorable thing. That's kind of a dishonorable thing to lie about something like that. Of course, he did do the thing with the cards, so maybe it's consistent. I don't know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's why Netter never liked the character, but yeah. Exactly.
Is this another character they changed for the movies that was better in the comics? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, he started out spot on, right? I mean, first off, the big change is by updating him, you kind of have to, because the original Nick Fury would have been serving with Captain America and those guys
in World War II.
In World War II,
he did make a comment in the one that his grandfather was a Howling Commando. I think he said that.
Which that's a great example of maintaining continuity. They were drawing on, and this was actually the smart way. The original Marvel Studios, before they had anything to do with Disney, they in the comics created the Ultimates line. An alternate universe that kind of simplified their many years of story, and they literally had already cast Nick Fury as Sam Jackson, and Sam Jackson loved the idea. He's like, I don't have a problem with you using my likeness, just as long as if you ever do this film, I get to play him. And it was life imitating art kind of a situation. So this was a perfect example of, not only did nobody mind this particular race swap, they demanded it, And I think that what you just said in the film, that actually comes from the comics too. I think in the Ultimates, he had talked about a great grandfather serving in the Howling Commandos or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, there you go. Okay, it all works. They did a great job. That's how you do it. But they've taken any goodwill that they had and shat all over it. And they don't care what we think. So why don't you tell us why they don't care?
Yeah, I just want to make a point. Nick Fury was a constant person who didn't give honest advice, telling cat scratching wouldn't help his case.
Well,
agreed,
that's true.
Agreed, but I still think the cat scratching was dumb. I do agree with you about No Way Home. It was worth watching. Yes, It was
not Disney, but you're right.
It was weird. What was funny? There was a point in No Way Home where I almost thought that Doctor Strange was going to be the antagonist, because he didn't agree with what Peter was doing. So there was a neat little... They had kind of a fight scene, which was kind of neat.
And although I haven't watched it yet, I do have it on DVD.
Yeah.
My impression of my understanding of the story is it is taking one of the worst Spider-Man comic stories, and by that I mean the One More Day storyline, and rejiggering it to make it an actually good story.
Yeah, it's an excuse also to get the Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, spoiler.
Yeah.
You already knew this, to come back. But what was neat about it is I like the Tom Holland Spider-Man character. He basically comments on it. He says, this is cool. I never had brothers. So he looked at them like they're siblings more than...
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Doubles of him. So I thought that was interesting, yeah. But anyway, let's go ahead. Let's go to Secret Invasion. Director doesn't care if you like the show.
Yeah, this is not shocking to me. I am not, at all surprised.
While the memory of Secret Invasion will hopefully fade from our minds soon, this is Forbes.
Again, this is Forbes, right? The media has completely turned against...
The media is getting tired because they're having...
We can't run interference for you anymore. You're on your own, guys.
Continued quotes from director Ali Salim just kept rubbing salt in the wounds. If it seems like the show doesn't really care much about retconning or inconsistent logic or the seemingly irrelevance of its overall plot, he doesn't really care about any of that. Salim has a bunch of interesting quotes about both the critical and audience reception to the show. In every variety, he says a lot of things, some of which are nonsense, some of which are dismissive. Take your pick. Here's a quote from him. I don't feel bad about mixed reviews. If you had unanimously good reviews, every movie would gross $10 billion trillion, right? Projects resonate with different people at different times for different reasons, and Marvel has a very devoted, even rabid fan base who have expectations, and when their expectations aren't fulfilled, they move in the other direction. They give it a thumbs down. This is the Forbes guy now, right? Okay, this quote is just wrong. There are loads of examples of movies that have sky-high critical scores that make little money. That's even true with superhero genre, as James Gunn's Suicide Squad was considered a flop despite a 90% score from critics, one of DC's highest rated projects in recent years. Calling the fan base rabid is perhaps not accurate, but it's been carved out of a quote to indicate his apparent disdain for the fans, which does come across as somewhat hostile and dismissive. This is what the director, the creator, showrunner went on to say, "Oh, I don't read reviews. With all due respect, for me, I view all the storytelling work I do as a dialogue with an audience. I don't know, is it our job to fulfill their expectations, or to tell a story that we're telling? So it's a tricky thing. I would love it if everybody loved it, but I also don't have that expectation myself, so I feel great about the response to it."
This guy's a moron. This guy's an absolute moron.
You have nothing else to say. That's. I remember Irving Kershner made the sequel to RoboCop 2, and it got heavily panned. I happen to like the movie myself, but I know a lot of people have disdain for it, calling it a terrible sequel. He was actually depressed and didn't even go back into directing after that. That's what I'd heard after that movie came out. See, in the old days, directors would actually take this stuff to heart. Now they're just completely dismissive, it seems. So I don't know.
Okay, I do have more to say about this. Let's kind of pick through this. He doesn't care about reviews. Okay, I could get behind him on that. Because the reviews, let's face it, we've watched the reviews, okay? These paid shills, okay? Their opinion has zero to do with whether or not it's actually a good or bad film, or whether or not the audience is going to like it, okay? The people whose opinion matters is the ones that are going to be going to the theaters and paying for it. It is those rabid fans, right? So he also says that he sees it as a, what was it? He said he sees it as a dialogue between himself and the audience, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if that's the case, then you those are the people that need to be positive and like what you're doing, you know?
Where do they hire these people?
He says, is it our job to fulfill their expectations? No. It is your job to exceed their expectations. That is the problem. When someone comes to you to pay you for what you're doing, you work for them. So yes, you are doing what they want. And if you are only meeting their expectations, somebody else is going to do it better. You need to exceed their expectations. And that's what made Marvel good from the beginning. Was the fans went in and they were like, oh my gosh, this is everything I thought it would be and more. And then it was just downhill from there.
Remember the first Iron Man?
Yep.
When that came out, and the general audience, let's be honest with you, Iron Man is not the most, was at least at the time, not the most popular character. I knew of him because, you know, I know a lot of superhero stuff, just, you know, because I followed their things. But the general audience didn't know who Iron Man was, but they loved that trailer. They loved Robert Downey Jr., so they were willing to give this a chance. And keep in mind, even Robert Downey Jr., we forget his career was on the mend at that point. Because he had been in prison, remember?
Right.
And he rehab and he cleaned himself up and stuff. But his career he was kind of having to build his career up all over again. He had been in Zodiac, which was excellent.
Yeah, exactly.
Zodiac, but he was an Iron Man, big hit, and it was kind of a big comeback for Marvel and for And I keep thinking, was this? No, that was the summer of the Dark Knight. That's right. It was Iron Man, Dark Knight, and Incredible Hulk, the one with Edward Norton, and Hellboy 2. That was a big summer for superhero movies. I remember that. Those 4 came out.
Real quick, deleted scenes. I love his references to Ryan George. Running interference is tight. Sir, please stop saying that. Never. But could you bring up Luddites R Us's last comment? I want to reference that. He says, why would you have a dialogue if you don't care what the other people are thinking or saying? Let me go back to the comment. I don't know. Is it our job to fulfill their expectations or tell the story we are telling? Well, if you think that your job is to tell the story you're telling, then you're not having a dialogue. You are having a monologue. You are telling people this is the story. You will like it. That's not having a dialogue. So you've just contradicted yourself, you dumbass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, it's ego. It's all about ego. It's I am coming and inserting myself into somebody else's property that I did not create to tell the story I want to tell. You arrogant son of a bitch. Go make your own damn movie. Go make your Knives Out or whatever. Stay the fuck away from other people's work if you think you're so great.
Oof, I hate RoboCop 2 and 3. You hate RoboCop 2? Out of the stream! You disagree with me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're not like that here. You can I think everybody disagrees with me in RoboCop 2. Anyway.
I would also say something that old that you don't like might be worth going back and looking at again, because I think sometimes you compare it to the first movie, you don't like it as much. I felt the same way about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I did not like that movie at the time. Going back, I may actually like it even better than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It's totally different. RoboCop 2 is totally different. I would argue RoboCop 2 is more over the top, and that might throw people off, because RoboCop 1 was already over the top, and I felt 2 even exceeds that with some of the ridiculous stuff happening in the movie. But I
Deleted scenes to say, do I have your permission to kick Continuing Chronicles? No. Don't do that.
You can disagree with us. We can have healthy debates here, okay? It's fine. And like I said, you're in the majority. A lot of people did not like RoboCop 2.
Yeah, and I will agree that there is a great deal lacking there, but I think when you look at it as the overall arc of the story, there's some kernel of good story there. It's worthwhile. I get what you're saying, though.
Do you know
CK?
what they had thought of doing for a RoboCop sequel, which I thought might have been brilliant? And if they actually decided to do another RoboCop movie or TV series, they were thinking about Murphy. RoboCop. He's in a I guess he's in like a fight with some punks, and I think he gets knocked out of commission, and then OCP just puts him in cold storage.
Mm-hmm.
And then some scientist or something like 100 or 200 years later puts them back together again and them them back online. And wouldn't that be interesting if they did a time jump like that and suddenly Delta City's in full force?
Yeah.
That might have been interesting.
That would be interesting.
I might have been on board with that. That's an interesting idea. Because he's a cyborg. Theoretically, he could live forever, right? So that might have been interesting to see. I don't know how that would have worked, but that was an interesting idea they had. But anyway, they are making a RoboCop game at least.
Is it by a company that you think it's going to be decent?
They're getting what's his name to do the voice. I'm so bad with names now. Hold on.
Peter Weller.
Peter Weller, yeah. Peter Weller's reprising the voice, and it looks like. I think the only complaint people had was when they were trying the demo was that RoboCop just keeps wasting all the punks and like he takes no damage. I'm thinking, well, that's kind of how it would be. Mm-hmm. Like if they're being real to the character, he probably would be.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you'd have him. Maybe there's another way to bring a challenge into the game, but he would be. It's like one of the issues of making a Superman game, right? You have to.
Right. Yeah. Yep. CK got it. Peter Weller. Right. Exactly. So have we dumped on Marvel enough? You want to turn your ire to DC and Warner Brothers for a little bit?
Okay. There's a good debate to be had over RoboCop 2, but we'll move on. Let's go to DC.
Oh, I posted it, but it didn't take for some reason.
What?
Yeah, I posted it. Said error. Try again.
They don't want us talking about
It's not letting me post. Let me try posting it.
You know what? I'm just going to read out where it's from, okay? It's from
Let me see if I can post in StreamYard.
Yeah. Gal Gadot on Wonder Woman 3. So this was originally announced on comicbook.com, but Variety also picked up the story. I'm troubled by
I
this
can't.
news.
I have deleted scenes. Did you kick me out? Am I unable to post now?
Let me see if I can. All right. Maybe it's giving me trouble. Maybe people don't want us posting this article. Maybe this is sensitive information. I'll post it myself.
I literally can't post anything.
Anyway. Look at that. Let's see. It's giving me trouble. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I can't post anything.
An error occurred on YouTube. This is usually temporary. Wait a moment, and then we try to fix it again. Did you run into that as well?
I'm just getting error, try again, and all of my things are showing a red line next to it, which means I can't post.
It could. I think it's a YouTube issue. It's okay. I got this article from Variety, so you can look it up yourself.
Julian sees this like, yes!
Do you want to send me the link and I can post it?
Yeah.
You can try it. I don't know if it's the. I don't think it's the. I think it's a YouTube issue though. But yeah, you can try.
I couldn't even say hello. It won't even take that from me.
Chat broken. It's a glitch. It's not a glitch. It's a feature.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Gal Gadot. Is it Gadot? I believe yes.
I believe that's how she pronounces it. Yes.
Gal Gadot is keeping the hope for a Wonder Woman 3 alive despite the big changes going on at DC Studios. An interview with comicbook.com while promoting
there
her
you go.
upcoming...
Well, Netter's able to post.
Well,
it likes me.
okay.
I guess.
Anyway, it's from Variety. There we go. All right. So, where was I? Okay. In an interview with comicbook.com while promoting her upcoming Netflix action movie Heart of Stone, Gadot alluded to hearing from a new DC bosses James Gunn and Peter Safran about developing a third Wonder Woman movie together. I love portraying Wonder Woman, Gadot said when asked about the third movie. It's so close to and dear to my heart. From what I heard from James and from Peter is that we're going to develop a Wonder Woman 3 together. Roughly an hour after Jenkins posted her statement, Gunn supported her on Twitter, replying, I can attest that all of Peter and my interactions with you were only pleasant and professional. Safran and Gunn's new DC universe is kicking off with Superman Legacy in 2025. The film is written and will be directed by Gunn, who announced last month that David Corenswet is taking on the role of Superman in the new DC universe. Corenswet takes over the role following Henry Cavill, who played Superman opposite Godot's Wonder Woman in several films. What is going on here?
I know, and that is the huge problem. A lot of fans are already screaming, you're keeping Gal, but you're getting rid of Henry. What's going on here?
I am having a suspicion. He got let go from The Witcher, or maybe he left The Witcher. I'm not sure which happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were consistent on what happened there. And we thought he was coming back as Superman because he had the cameo in Black Adam. But then they said, no, we're rebooting everything. And I guess Ben Affleck was out as Batman and Henry Cavill's out as Superman. They didn't say anything about Wonder Woman. They didn't say anything about Aquaman. And I'm assuming part of that was because they have the Aquaman movie coming out. So we don't want to say Momoa was out before the new movie came out. But I'm starting to wonder what's going on now, because now it's sounding like Gal Gadot is still going to be Wonder Woman. Is she going to be Wonder Woman in this new universe? Is this a standalone project? Why are they still making standalone projects if that's the case?
However,
because this is a dead universe? Go ahead.
Let me posit something else. Okay, you pointed out how Henry Cavill had gone and implied that he was going to still be Superman going forward. There was something still going on there. Maybe Gal Gadot's doing the same thing here. Maybe this is... and also, just like The Rock talking about, plans and things and so forth. This is not the studio saying it, it's these actors saying this. Trying to drum up that enthusiasm from their fan base to maybe put pressure on the studios to keep their job, leverage this into continuing with them, whatever it is.
I don't know.
But if it's not, and they really are considering this, then I have zero hope that James Gunn has anything like a plan. This is just scatter volley bullshit.
Because what is going on here? They say we're starting over with a new universe. Public perception is if Wonder Woman's there, it's a new universe.
Exactly.
If Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is there.
If you're changing one, why are you not changing all? Are you going to keep Ben Affleck going forward? Look, shit or get off the pot already.
I think Affleck was already going to leave. I don't think he was interested in keeping in playing Batman anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that happened there.
Henry Cavill is out already. That's clear. Well, look, unless they decide that they're bringing in this sweaty corn kid for the younger role, and then they're going to bring Henry Cavill back, for Superman 3 or whatever.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the actor they cast is reminiscent of Henry Cavill, but how old is this actor they're using?
I have no idea.
And why would they be having him play a younger Henry Cavill, where he was just wandering around the world, as an anonymous guy, working oil rigs and stuff? They're not going to be doing that movie because he's not Clark Kent Superman yet.
Yeah.
So this doesn't make any sense. So I actually understood why they were rebooting. There was a lot of baggage left over from the Snyderverse. It made sense. You and I both agreed on that. I did feel bad for Cavill, though, because I felt like he was never really given the opportunity to play this character, kind of like how Brandon Routh was.
Right.
They're back
exactly.
When he played Superman, because I don't think either of them are bad actors. I just don't get this now, and I'm really starting to wonder if Hollywood has it in for Henry Cavill. And this is just me thinking outside. Maybe there's no basis.
It would kind of fall under the whole thing where Hollywood seems to have this hatred for anyone that actually does care about the source material, right? They got all upset about Sonic. Oh, you shouldn't bow to the whims of these fans.
Yeah, and I suspect what happened there was Sega stepped in and they said, "Look, this is our IP. You're going to treat it right." I know Mattel got scared with Barbie. I know that they had come to the set, but maybe they must have okayed what finally came out with that. Nintendo, I know they're tight with what they allow, I think, with their IP as well, because they weren't going to give Mario away after the original Super Mario Brothers movie with John Leguizamo came out many years ago. But
CK is bringing up a lot of great points about the apparent timeline of the stories going forward with the James Gunn verse. We have a 20-year-old Superman, but we don't get a Ted Kord as Blue Beetle, and we have Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner. None of this makes sense. It's kind of like the Ben Affleck Batman with a younger Superman and Wonder Woman. It doesn't make any sense.
The young actor playing Blue Beetle did allude to the fact that they would bring Ted Kord into it later. So that maybe Ted Kord exists in that universe as...
But the idea of Ted Kord existing, but already being replaced by a younger character, and Superman just coming in as a 20-year-old... Superman is supposed to, and even James Gunn has said this, and who's the head of Warner Brothers? Zaslav has said this too. That Superman is your cornerstone. The things that CK just pointed out is great examples of you not treating Superman like he's the cornerstone.
This is why, I know, didn't DC Comics say that, like, they were doing different timelines for the superheroes? Like, I think Wonder Woman was supposed to show up first instead of Superman. That they were alluding to that, and DC Comics had changed the timelines in recent years or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which I know you probably don't agree with. When we were doing that thing on Matt Six Channel about the potential different what we would do with the DCU, I originally was going to do Wonder Woman in World War II with the Justice Society,
right?
But they would have been like a legend, like nobody knew that they really existed, or if the kids they were just made up to keep that spirit high in World War II. But Superman,
and that would actually be great. I would love for someone in the modern day to make reference to them. Oh, that's like Paul Bunyan. That's just
kind of
tall
like
tales
that. Yeah,
stuff.
that's how it would have been. And it'd be like people who thought Bigfoot or UFOs or something. That would be the society. You'd have soldiers swear they saw Wonder Woman doing this, and others say, it was never happened. And it would be like this urban legend.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
And that's what I would have done.
Again, this is the fans putting more thought into it than the people behind the scenes, really.
Is this correct? We're getting Guy Gardner, but Nathan Fillion's playing him?
Yeah, and I could totally see that casting, but he's way too old.
But he's also played Hal Jordan. He was cast as Hal Jordan in a lot of the animated series.
But he doesn't really look the part for Hal Jordan. You know?
I know.
And again, too old to be playing against a 20-year-old Superman.
Wait a minute. If he's playing Guy Gardner and they're doing a Green Lantern series with Hal Jordan and John Stewart, is Guy Gardner now going to predate Hal Jordan and John Stewart? Does that make any sense
Oh, God,
to you?
I hope not. No, that makes zero sense.
Guy Gardner's the first.
They're going to try to cram Kyle
Rayner in there.
Kyle Rayner in there, too?
Oh.
They have to if they ever want to, fridge his wife.
I forgot that happened. Oh, thank you. That storyline gave us what's her name in comics later on.
Whose company just went bankrupt. We don't have an article on that, but
Okay. Well, I have not been paying attention to the comic world. Troy, can we change the terms to fans to paying customers?
Right. That's a great point. Thanks, Boosh. And welcome
Outback
to
Steakhouse, and they changed management. It sucked. I was only customer. I've not been to an Outback in years. Have they gotten worse? They used to be a real treat when I go to Outback. They're not the cheapest place though, but
yeah, I haven't been.
Red
in
Lobster's
many
gone up
years.
too.
Yeah,
they've gotten ridiculous with their prices.
Luddites are us. We need Nort. I agree. Actually, that would be the best way to reboot a Green Lantern series. Give us Nort.
Yes. Bill Burr should have been Guy Gardner. Yes, I'm on board with Bill Burr as Guy Gardner.
Actually, that would have been genius.
I think that
yes.
Well, yes.
Oh, that would have been fantastic casting.
Someone who's funny but also a jerk. To play.
Yeah, you're right. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, Ted Kord's a veteran hero, but Superman's the newbie. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Good night, geezers. I'll have to catch the rest of the show on the
Take care, Auditor Dread. Thanks.
I don't know. I'm really worried about Warner Brothers right now. I think they're going to take some of the wrong lessons from this big success they had this summer. I'm worried about what could be injected into these James Gunn Superman movie. I don't know yet. I mean, people have liked James Gunn's movies before, so maybe he'll still do a good Superman movie, but I just wonder if this is too much on this plate.
It's going to be a while before we see any of this stuff. It's all on hold while the strikes are going on.
I don't know if that's for the better or for the worse. If it's on
I'd
hold.
say for now it's probably for the better. But we're not going to be seeing any new films or TV shows, so maybe we should just get to gaming.
You could have Guy Gardner if it was a time travel thing.
True.
Maybe. I don't know.
Welcome, Gorilla Random Thoughts.
Why are they just do Blue Beetle though?
Right.
They could have Nathan Fillion as Blue Beetle. That might have been kind of funny.
True.
I don't know. All right. Actually, I was making the joke the other actor from Cobra Kai should play Blue Beetle. That way they can keep the two actors together. But anyway, now we're going into gaming. This is a bit of there's no segue really.
No.
From Superman to Super Nintendo. Okay. I did not pick out this article. You did. You sent this to me. I'm just curious. Now, typically, I do not pay heed to this sort of stuff because people have been saying that the Switch 2 or a new Switch or a new Nintendo, they've been saying a new one's coming out for years now. However, I believe this one is credible. This is a credible rumor, if a rumor can be credible. It strikes me, it makes logical sense. I'll say that. So I'll go ahead and read the article. So this happens all the time for all... sources told VGC development kits for the unannounced new console are now with partner studios with a second half of 2024 release window set to give Nintendo enough time to ensure plenty of stock for launch. They will still be sold out. Apparently, this new next-gen console can be used in portable mode like the Nintendo Switch and has an LCD screen as opposed to an OLED screen in order to keep costs down. It also comes with a cartridge slot for physical games, VGC said. It sounds a lot like the Switch to me. However, the crucial question of backwards compatibility with Nintendo Switch games remains unclear. IGN has asked Nintendo for comment. In May, Nintendo said it's the long-rumored Switch successor wouldn't release until April 2024 at the earliest. Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa explained during an investor's presentation that the company isn't considering new hardware in the 2023-2024 financial year, which ends March 31st, 2024. This makes sense as they're still releasing games on the Switch. We have some new Mario games coming out. We have Super Mario Brothers Wonder. We have the Super Mario RPG remake. We also have a remake of Luigi's Mansion 2 in the new year. So they have games still coming out for the Switch. And Nintendo, I hate to say this, other companies are better than Nintendo at this. Usually, when they release a new console, that's it for the old console. They don't usually support it too long after. This comes despite a decline in Switch sales. The console sold close to 18 million units in the last financial year, down from 23 million sold the year before and 28 million the year before that. Nintendo is looking to rush a new console out to tackle this decline, though, as it has forecast another drop for the coming year. So, are they talking about this year? Oh, they're talking about a drop for Switch in the coming year. Well, there would be a drop, especially if they're releasing their own competitor for it. Sustaining the Switch sales momentum will be difficult in the seventh year, said Furukawa during the presentation. Our goal of selling 50 million units this fiscal year is a bit of a stretch, but we will do our best to bolster demand going into the holiday season so that we can achieve that goal. Well, the problem is many people who wanted a Switch already own one. You listening?
Okay.
Yeah, I dragged.
I mean, you're talking about a subject I know very little about.
Well, I dragged my feet on the Switch for a while, but eventually I caved in 2020. I finally picked one up. I'm like, and you know what? It's been one of my favorite Nintendo systems I've ever purchased. It has a great software library. Is it as powerful as its competition? No, but it does things its competition can't do. Like, it is a portable and a console at the same time, so you can bring it on the go, or you can plug it into your TV. It's kind of nifty. That's what I would use to describe the Switch. It's nifty. Cool. And the original titles for the Zelda games, like Breath of the Wild and the new one they just released, they're incredible. They are a departure from the classic series, but I kind of like what they've done with them. So, anyway, more rumors surrounding a new console have been circulating for years. The new console was sold to offer boosted graphics akin to the PlayStation 4 and its Pro model, but there is no official information yet regarding the next piece of Nintendo hardware yet. I suspect, again, people are always saying the Switch 2 is around the corner, but I think this is credible. I think they have to get off the pot.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem is they're dealing with piracy now, because the Switch has been cracked. People can now pirate the games and throw them online. I think people were playing bootleg versions of the new Zelda game before it even came out. So I think just to combat the piracy, they need to come up with a new console, and it is behind the times technology-wise. I mean, I'm not as much a stickler for such things, but keep in mind they're talking about getting up to maybe a PlayStation 4. That's still last-gen hardware, but but. Again, I think the Switch has been a big success. I'm a big fan of it, and I don't know if this next one will be backwards compatible or not. I suspect it will be, because I think they want people to jump over. At the same time, though, I don't know. I don't think they want to be hamstrung by the last console either, so there's give and take with that, They might do what they did with the Wii and with the Wii U, where there was like a... I know on the Wii you could play GameCube games on it. On the Wii U you could play Wii games on it, and it would go into like a Wii menu. So this new console, and it might have a Switch section where you go into Switch mode. Now you're playing your Switch games on another part of the console. Then you can go into whatever, if it's Switch Ultra, maybe that's what they'll call it, I don't know. Go into that version of the console. That's what I suspect they'll do if they're doing backwards compatibility. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, no, I do.
They'll stick the old hardware and the new hardware, but you still have the new hardware as well. They'll do both, but I don't know. We'll see. Again, I probably will not be buying it at launch. I've only bought one Nintendo console at launch, and that was the Nintendo 64.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember the Nintendo 64?
Yeah, absolutely.
With Super Mario.
I didn't have it, but I knew people who did. Yeah.
It was a big deal at the time. I remember Douglas Adams had commented he was floored at what they were able to do, because basically you had a fully realized 3D world with Super Mario 64. where you can move the character in all directions and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal at the time when that came out. And that was the only one I bought at launch. But I tend to wait on buying consoles at launch now because you're always better off waiting like a year or two because you'll get more of a library available to you. Plus, some of those games will be discounted. So, but it just depends on what you want. If you're worried about FOMO, you might want to pick it up at launch. I don't know. Fear of missing out.
Yeah, I know what it means. I'm just, me, I'm not a gamer, so this is not, something
you don't care. I know.
I'm not saying I don't care. I'm interested. It's just I am not going to be having the FOMO you're talking about.
I am going to say this for Nintendo. I'm not going to say they're a completely perfect company. No company is. And I'm not going to say that there might not even have been some woke people over in their English translation side of Treehouse in some instances. But for the most part, it's just clean fun, which is sorely needed in this day and age.
I was going to say, we don't see a lot of that anymore.
Yeah. Nintendo is kind of I use Disney in the old sense of the word Disney. They're like the Disney of video games.
Yeah.
They've been around since early on. Donkey Kong, remember, that was them.
Right.
Back in the olden days. And they're still going strong. And I like the fact that they're kind of the only video game company that turned console manufacturer that's still around. Now we have Xbox, which is Microsoft. That was a different kind of software company. And Sony was a different kind of company altogether. Of course, it's funny. Sony video games are now huge with Sony, whereas it was more of a side project years ago. Now it's a lot of their bread and butter is the PlayStation. But, anyway, though, we'll keep you posted on the Switch successor. I expect it'll be at least 300 at launch. Obviously. Maybe more because of inflation, but I don't know. We'll see. It's cool. I would like if it was backwards compatible, though. I've also made the argument it's not just the games that want backwards compatible. Those controllers. Don't make me buy new sets of controllers.
I hear you on that. Yeah.
But to be fair, I own the Switch. I also own a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One. I don't own the current PlayStation or Xbox, but I own the last gen models. Okay. All right, that's all. Oh no, not the miscategory.
We don't have to go too far into this next article.
Maybe I should just read the title and we'll move on. I love the Super Nintendo. I will say this for Lester. I know you love the Super Nintendo. I think the Nintendo Switch is Nintendo's best console since the Super Nintendo, or at least the GameCube. I think they really hit it out of the park, which was interesting because they came off the disaster that was the Wii U. Even I didn't buy a Wii U. I'm like, no. You didn't sell me on the Wii U and I didn't buy it.
That's a weird name, too. It makes me think of the Minions. Wii U, Wii U, Wii U.
It was horrible. People didn't know what the Wii U was. Customers thought, is this like a peripheral you buy for the Wii? Like, they didn't understand it was a completely new console. Also, Nintendo, I don't know why they do this. I think Shigeru Miyamoto, they're always obsessed with this second screen stuff. Like with the Nintendo DS, you had two screens on the Nintendo DS. The Wii U had a controller that had a screen on it, and you also had a screen on the TV. And you could use the screen controller while playing the game on the TV, or you could have the game play on the screen controller while somebody else watched the TV. It was, I don't know, maybe people loved it, but Miyamoto's been obsessed with having this second screen stuff.
Well, I understand giving you options, but
no,
yeah,
I didn't buy it. I'm sorry. It looked cumbersome. Michael Pachter said, "I don't like the way the controller works. I'm looking down at the controller, but then having to look up at the screen and go back and forth." It said, because at least with the DS, they're both together in close proximity, so it wasn't as weird. But yeah, just no. I think the Switch, excellent Nintendo console. Hopefully, their follow-up will be just as good, if not better. I liked whatever that new Super Mario Brothers Wii was. I made the joke, Continuing Chronicles. Actually, this was not me. It was on another podcast I listened to. And they said, how does Nintendo come up with their titles? And the title of the game was New Super Mario Brothers Wii. And they think they came up with the title was like when someone went into a Walmart and they'd go up in the electronics section and say, "Hey, do you have that new Super Mario Brothers game for Wii?" New Super Mario Brothers Wii.
Oh God.
Like I said, the new 2D Mario game they're making looks really good. The Super Mario Brothers Wonder. So we'll see. I prefer side scrolling. I like both the 3D and the side scrolling. They do different things. I think the later 3D Mario games were better than the earlier ones. But here we go, Barbie.
Yeah.
Barbie's becoming a new litmus test for dating men.
I'm going to have a very different take on this than you might be expecting.
Okay. Women around the world are taking their boyfriends to see Barbie in hopes of answering one fundamental question: is he enough? Across social media, many women have been encouraging one another to use the movie as a litmus test to gauge whether their male dates can understand or are at least receptive to its feminist messaging. Nicole Hofler, a 32-year-old woman from Cologne, Germany, said she calls it the Barbie test. It's the new question on a first date or your dating profile. What are your thoughts on the Barbie movie, she said. Because if a guy really doesn't want to see it, or he's not open to talking about it, or what's even worse yet, if he's seen it and he thinks it's not a good movie or he doesn't get the point, I think it's kind of a no-go. To her pleasant surprise, her boyfriend passed with flying colors. Hofler, who shared her boyfriend's reaction to the film on TikTok, said she had originally planned to glam up in a pink dress and enjoy the movie alone because she didn't expect him to be interested in Barbie until he asked to join her, digging up a baby pink shirt to match her outfit. I thought he was also going to wear a pink dress to the
Yeah, right?
anyway, she and several other women who spoke with NBC News said watching Barbie felt like seeing their everyday experiences showcased on the big screen. But Hofler said that after having heard so many men react to the movie defensively, she felt lucky to have a partner who actively wanted to discuss the impacts of patriarchy afterward. He just confirmed many things I always knew, like his empathy and how emotionally intelligent he is, Hofler said.
Let me translate. He just confirmed that he was a beta male simp, just like she knew he was. Yeah.
Or a liar that's just trying to get in her.
Well, yeah, that does still fall under the simp thing, right?
Yes.
I'll say whatever I have to say to get into your pants. Yeah.
Actually, no, because I'm sorry, you still have your pride. Come on, dude. It's like
You should.
I think it's easy for a woman to understand the movie.
So this is why I have a different take on this.
Go ahead.
I just think that guys should be fired up about the idea that there is a segment of women that are going to use this film as a litmus test. You want to purposely fail that test. That is if you are a man, okay? When she says to you, well, what do you think about that? I would be like, well, I think it's terrible the way that the Kens were treated, and they had every right to rise up. Just like I think slavery is wrong. Don't you think slavery is wrong? Or do you want to go back to the good old days?
Not our good old days. The
the birth of the nation
right.
Perspective of what the good old days.
You're saying if this movie was about any other group, it would be considered.
Exactly right. And if she doesn't see it that way, if she thinks that she's the oppressed minority, you say, well, good luck to you. Go find yourself another woman, because you're not going to find a man.
A lot of women in Europe apparently are in this thing. Hasna Bodera, 18 of Dunkirk, France, said in a TikTok video that she thinks discussions of Barbie will serve as a new test of compatibility when she goes on future dates with men. If they don't get the point, they're probably not a good match.
Absolutely.
Should men ask their date what they thought of the movie Heavy Metal?
If your girl breaks up with you because you don't have the right opinion about the Barbie movie, then you've dodged a friggin' bullet there, man. Get out. Go find yourself a decent woman, a trad wife, whatever. Someone that appreciates your masculinity, who doesn't think it's toxic.
Oh, yeah, I want to read I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm going to read this last comment, though. Teresa Arzati, 27 of Dallas, said her ex-boyfriend's reaction in the theater was a wake-up call. Now she's looking for an apartment as she prepares to move out next month. There were certain parts where he was like, oh, are you crying? In dislike and total shock. And it just really upset me, said Arzati, who opened up about her breakup on Twitter. His reaction to Barbie just really took me aback. This isn't the kind of partner that I want to have.
Yeah, well, you're probably not the kind of partner he wants to have either. Good. Find this out before you get married, folks. For crying out loud.
These people get out less than I do. Yeah, probably.
Let's put it this way. If Netter was the type that was like these women, we wouldn't still be married 31 years later.
All right, let's move on to the next thing. Rumor. This is a short one.
Yeah, this is a super short one because we don't usually spend a lot of time on rumors.
Honey, I'm not shallow.
No, you're absolutely not. Yeah, and I wouldn't describe you as a trad wife either, but you're definitely more on that side.
Maybe there's subliminal messaging in the movie for women that makes them act this way. Huh? I don't know.
No, it just gives them an excuse to be the bitches that they were going in. So I am fired up about this idea of there being a new requel, not reboot, but like a sequel that reboots the series.
Yes. A Nightmare on Elm Street requel is in development. Blumhouse has secretly been working on making a requel. The first entry in the saga. This revival is a high priority. We don't have a date yet, but shouldn't expect it so far away. So that's all we have.
So this comes to us as a series of tweets from the V-Scooper on Twitter or X or Z or whatever they're calling it these days. But you really should probably go check them out because they've got a number of tweets talking about it. Blumhouse has been secretly working on marketing a requel of the first entry of this saga. This revival is a high priority. We don't have a date yet. We shouldn't expect it to be too far away. The requel means it's a continuation of the first movie that also kind of serves as a remake, as it is a revival of the franchise. It can decanonize all the other previous sequels. So in other words, they might be doing a kind of Halloween type of thing here, or use some of it as well. Can be flexible. This is what happened to Halloween and the Exorcist saga. So yeah, exactly like I said. To clarify things, Blumhouse doesn't fully own it, but it's more of a collaboration in the works. This project has been discussed within the company, and they are very confident that it will be made. While not everything is certain, they are very close to finalizing the details. So in summary, this is still a process, and don't expect Blumhouse to admit it. They are very close to getting this done, and that's why I decided to talk about it. Again, this is from the V-Scooper on X, Z, Twitter, whatever you call it.
Are they going to get Robert Englund to play him, or is he too old at this point? I don't know. That's what I'm
this is where all the crazy speculation comes, right? Are they going to, do some sort of a CG thing? Do they have him played by a different actor, but he voices it? Who knows? Could be anything.
Could it be a different monster using the same MO as Freddy? Like a different person that figured out how to do the dream thing after he died or something?
Yeah.
It's just a Nightmare on Elm Street. It doesn't necessarily have to be Freddy as the monster.
That's absolutely right. So this is all speculation. It's just a good grease the wheel kind of situation here. Looks like they're working on something. We may get something going forward. Let's cross our fingers. That's really all we could tell you. David Pensack says, Troy Pacelli and Netter's Network, didn't they break the mold when Netter was made? I have to agree that is absolutely the truth. But I would encourage you guys that there are other women out there who think like Netter, that aren't stupid, okay, that understand that men have value. These are the women that look to their fathers, their brothers, and know that there are good men and appreciate those things about men and want a man in their life like those men. So, yeah, don't give up hope, guys. Robert Englund said he wants Kevin Bacon to play Freddy. That would be weird. That would be very, very weird.
I could see him doing it.
He gets killed by Jason and then plays Freddy. I think that would be funny.
Oh, man.
That would be
Talk about another iconic '80s character, Freddy Krueger. We'll have to do a good old days on him at some point. But I actually have them all on Blu-ray. I got the Blu-ray set.
Me too.
That's one of these so
well, not on Blu-ray. I got the DVDs. I don't want to upgrade.
I got the Blu-ray.
No, you think you're better than me?
No, because there'll be someone out there saying, "I got the 4K Blu-ray."
Yeah, exactly. The steel book, whatever the hell. Yeah,
you know, with the engraved signatures or whatever.
Exactly.
But no, I'm looking forward. Actually, I think someone made a point that you almost don't want to watch the original Nightmare on Elm Street on Blu-ray because you see some of the.
Matanui asks why Kevin Bacon. I'll tell you why. Because everything is better with bacon. That brings us to our last article. Stephen Arnell, who I actually had to go, who? Says he doesn't support the actors' strike. I had to go back and find out who this actor is.
Stephen Arnell is sharing his thoughts on the SAG-AFTRA strike during an appearance on Raleig's GalaxyCon. The Aerostar revealed that he does not support the current actors' strike. I feel like I'm insulated in Hollywood because that's where I live. I feel like a lot of people in this room aren't aware of the strike, he said. I support my union, I do, and I stand with them, but I do not support striking. I don't. He continued, I think there is a reductive negotiation tactic, and I find the entire thing incredibly frustrating. I think that thinking as it pertains to shows like this show that I'm on that premiered last night, I think it is myopic, and I stand with my union. On Tuesday, Arnell took to Instagram to clarify his remarks, writing in part to ensure there is no misunderstanding about my thoughts and intentions. I'm providing what I actually said and clarify context to ensure my feelings aren't unintentionally misinterpreted. We all know sound bites can be taken out of context, and I have too much respect for my fellow union members to not clarify the record. The Hills actor is one of the first actors to speak out against the strike, which began July 14th, as SAG-AFTRA's contract expired and talks broke down with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television producers.
Yeah, Matanui's right. He is the CW's Green Arrow. I never watched any of that, so I had no idea. It's true. I had to look it up.
They have a Fran Drescher comment in here. We are the victims here, she said in a powerful speech at the time. We are being victimized by a very greedy entity. I am shocked by the way the people we have been in business with are treating us. I cannot believe it. Quite frankly, how far apart we are in so many things, how they plead poverty, that they're losing money left and right while giving millions to CEOs. It's disgusting. Shame on them.
Yeah, I mean, she's not wrong in that regard. Right. But they really, it goes back to what I said. It's not only the bad business decisions, it's the bad product that's been coming out. And unfortunately, Fran, you and your fellow actors and the writers have all contributed to that. So you gotta take responsibility for that too. But it does sound to me like this Arrow actor is getting at something that a reasonable person would say. Instead of striking, we should be sitting down and negotiating out our grievances. But it does sound like they're past that point, and you have to go with the nuclear option after a certain point.
This is certainly going to delay productions, I think. So we'll see.
And again, like we've said so many times tonight, good, because a lot of these projects should never happen. They need to die.
That's okay. If we run out of things to talk about on the show because of lack of entertainment news, we're just going to do rewatches of each Smallville episode 3 times each.
Yeah,
so you have to watch them again 3 times each to get the full context. So
right, exactly.
I made a joke with Troy because we did the first few episodes of Smallville in discussion on how we'd reboot the DC universe, and I was like, we have to do every one of them. It's like
well, and unfortunately, there's just not enough. I'll tell you what, if I was a big enough channel where I could do videos, where I could do streams and videos every day, I might do stuff like that. So, guys, share out this channel, get people to subscribe to me so that maybe I can start putting out more content for y'all.
I had watched the first season of Arrow when it was on. I did like it. I did want to make a point. What I thought was interesting was almost like Lost in reverse, because like Lost had the whole thing where they're on the island and they flash back to their lives before they got to the island. Yeah. Whereas on Arrow, he was in the present, the returning...
Flashing back to his origin on the island.
Yeah. And the island was an interesting place because it's not just him surviving the elements, but then, of course, you find out that there were people on the island and, It looked like a criminal organization, and I think he gets kidnapped with this other guy, and like, we'll make you talk. What are you doing here? And he says, "Oh, you're going to torture me? Oh, I'm not going to torture you." And then the tent opens up, and in walks Deathstroke, and I freaked out in the full Deathstroke costume.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard it kind of fell off later on, and
Yeah,
like I said, I understood your annoyance with them not using.
I never even got into the first season. I don't care how good it was. They, by not building off of Smallville, they screwed themselves, and they kept doing. I mean, and we've still seen that to this day, where none of their properties can intermix and touch. This is how you end up with 5 Batmen.
I've heard because of the Batman movies, part of the contract is I don't think if James Gunn is doing his own DC universe, they can't share characters with this. I think the other Batman.
So we still have the same problem we did then, and they've learned nothing.
This is why Deathstroke, I think, is being used as the villain in this. What is it? Brave and the Bold movie that they're working.
And
on.
this is also why this strike could actually be a good thing. If it kills, certain projects, then maybe they can start bringing things in line. Who knows? One can only hope.
The streamers need to be upfront about ratings and residuals, but honestly, I could care less about the writers, actors, and studios after all the attitude research. They've been awful. They really have been. You go back in time, go back and watch some Siskel and Ebert clips, episodes from the 80s, especially Eugene Siskel. They could be merciless on movies, but people had thicker skins back then to criticism. And I didn't always agree with Siskel and Ebert's criticism. Right. They were wrong, too, on certain
They actually even admitted it, because sometimes they would come back and change their opinion.
But they... nowadays it's like you criticize them. All of a sudden, you're an istophobe, even though what they're doing is you didn't like the way this episode turned out, or this change in the series, or what they did to your, movies and whatnot. So, I don't know. I think we could all use a break from Hollywood for a little while, and
that's why you should be supporting the great talent on YouTube here. Like in about an hour. Come back to Deleted Scenes channel. Oh, is it a half hour now? Oh gosh, we've really run over. I
thought we'd be early tonight. I didn't think we'd be running over.
Sorry. Yeah, no, half hour. You have a half hour to run to the potty, get yourself a drink and a snack, and get back for the other side of midnight, 13th episode, where his special guest will be Das Wolfen, and it's a great way to wind out your weekend.
I like that name, Das Wolfen.
Das Wolfen, yes. I don't see... I'm sure that you guys all follow channels that might have stuff going on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But as far as I know, the next big thing is on Netter's Network Thursday night, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, where her special guest on Thursday Things will be Big Al of Big Al Presents. She will be interviewing him, and we'll find out how he got into this whole YouTube thing, something about his love of film, and why you should be following his channel if you're not already, for his reviews and rewatches, and especially these great little 10-word or less reviews that he's been doing lately.
You should ask him about his process for that. That might be interesting.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely will. That'll be this Thursday.
Yes.
Followed up on Friday... my channel, Last Call. I guess I should drop a link, shouldn't I?
Drop links to both.
Oh, I didn't drop one for Netter's Network. I'm sorry.
Not.
I'm a goof. I'm falling behind. So there. Netter's Network. Netter's Network. Big Al Presents stream, and then Friday. No. I hit Control V when I meant to hit Control. There we go. Friday. You'd think that I'd been drinking already, and I haven't been. Friday, Last Call. We will be talking a great deal more about the Hollywood strike with special guest Tom Conkle, who will bring a perspective I think is different from anything you've heard from any of our other channels. Tom is a writer in Hollywood. Yes. He is an actor in Hollywood. He is also a producer and director in Hollywood. So he actually has a good view of all the different aspects of this, and he's going to explain, his take on it, and probably educate us a great deal about what's going on with all of that. And that will be on Friday. Saturday, that Big Al guy that we were just talking with Netters Network on Thursday, join him on his channel for a live stream of the rewatch of the 1983 film High Road to China with Tom Selleck and Bess Armstrong. Tom Selleck kind of gives us a bit of a peek at what it would have been like if he had gotten the role of Indiana Jones that he was up for.
Okay.
That's
High Road to China sounds like an interesting time.
And then that, of course, brings us around to next Sunday, starting with deleted scenes on his channel for Unscripted. An hour before you come hang out with us again on Geeky Geezers. Just got a bunch of flowers from Lady Mist. She is so awesome and encouraging. Thank you so much for being here, Lady Mist. Thank you, Deleted Scenes, for blue wrenching for us. Thank you so much to all of you that came out to encourage us today.
And tune in next Sunday for Geeky Geezers. Also, like I said, check out the other streams. I show up on other people's channels too. I try to mention that in my community tab. I need to start being more diligent with that. But we'll catch you next time. Hopefully, we'll have a better news week of more uplifting stuff. And
hopefully, all of our favorite celebrities stay healthy this week.
Maybe Warner Brothers can make a decent superhero movie by accident. I'm sorry, wait a minute.
When they get around to start being able to make things again, that is.
Blue Beetle, man, keeping the faith, huh?
Whatever, never saw it.
I like the actor because he's from Cobra Kai, but
yeah, I like him too.
The only good thing, I don't know. And then we have Aquaman in the Lost City.
Maybe.
No. On that,
they are in crisis mode on that one.
They'll be postponed till next year. We got to postpone it to next holiday season. We're not going to have any movies next year. All right, y'all. You have a good night. I'm rambling.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care. Stay strong. This is how we win. Thank you, Deleted.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.